How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
is the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
What's up, guys? What's up? Good evening. Sorry I didn't do a stream earlier. Spy stream ran a little bit long, and I was just very tired afterwards. I was tired. It's been a long week, okay? I've been doing like 4 spy streams a week, at least, every week for the past 3 weeks. I am tired. I am too old for this shit. I'm too old. Shalom. Shalom, Chris. All right, so I thought we would just do a nice little kind of chill Nitwits tonight. Nitwits is basically a show where I usually just watch other people's content and just relax. How is that different than when I do that on my other show? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I take it even a little bit less seriously than when I do it on my other show. I take my other show just like anytime I start streaming after 8 p.m., I can't be held responsible for anything I say and do. Anytime I start streaming after 8 p.m., it's never a good idea. I'm never a good person. Basically, this is the shadow self time, okay? I have to be I've turned over this new leaf where I'm really trying to be nicer. I'm trying to be nicer with every fiber of my being. I'm trying to be nicer. I'm trying to be more professional so that we don't scare people away right away. I'm trying to just dumb down the things I'm teaching to the lowest common denominator. And some days it's almost too much self-restraint to do all 3 of those things at the same time while still being on the internet. I'm trying so hard. And so the only thing I ask is that after 8 p.m., if I start streaming after 8 p.m., this is the shadow time. Okay? This is the shadow. I don't even have my other light on right now. The lighting is dimmed. I look exactly the same because I wear the same thing all the time. But this is the shadow time. And no, Trendlin, no. I came very close to watching Tim Pool on trigonometry tonight, and that's about as far as I'll go. And then I realized that Tim Pool on trigonometry was 2 hours long. And I couldn't do it. Brucey. Thank you, Brucey. I appreciate you. Now, if you guys send in enough super chats, I could be convinced to continue this video after we watch everything else that I want to watch and watch the Tim Pool trigonometry episode. But it's going to be up to you. It's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to you. So if you want me to watch the Tim Pool trigonometry episode, time to start getting in those bribes, okay? Because it is going to take bribery. I don't want to watch that video. And I know some of you want me to watch that video. And we're just going to see how much you want me to start to watch that video. Because if you make me watch that video, I'm going to need to go to the store tomorrow and buy a severe amount of alcohol before we do a Socialism Saturday. All right. Thanks, Norita, for the super chat. Been a while since the last Nitwits was the State of the Union. That it was the State of the Union that wasn't the State of the Union. Exactly. Oh, is Tim talking about James literally right now? We're going to talk about James tonight. Hang on. I haven't looked at Tim's Twitter in forever. Because Tim, as you know, blocked me after I called him many horrible things. Trendlin in with the bribery. Okay. Thank you, Trendlin. Thank you. What is Tim? Oh, is he live on his show or on his Twitter? Wait, is Tim talking about James on his show? Or just on his Twitter? Oh no, I see it on his Twitter. Hang on. I was like, is Tim doing a segment about James? That I would watch a Tim segment about James. Let's see. What is Timmy Tim saying? All right. This person says, okay, here we go. The fake woke right shit is such fucking obvious woke shit. Assorting. We already knew that. James Lindsay is woke. He was just tired of pretending not to be, but is using the same tactics. Tim, thank you. You know what? I'm not even mad at Tim. I might even watch that trigonometry episode right now and be on Tim's side. I mean, but I've heard that Tim doesn't know what he's talking about on the left on the trigonometry episode. So probably I wouldn't be on Tim's side. But like I'm feeling just a smidge more affinity towards Tim than I did 3 minutes ago. I grew up 3 miles from where the new pope is from. He's okay. He's not the priest that touched me. Okay, excellent. Thank you for the update, Murphy's Pool. I appreciate that. I still think it's cool that there's an American pope. I just think that's, I don't know, kind of neat. We had a debate on Twitter last night whether or not the new pope could actually still vote in American elections. And I think we decided that he probably could vote in American elections, but I think we also decided he probably shouldn't vote in American elections because the Pope is technically like the head of state for Vatican City. Vatican City is a city-state, so it is basically kind of like its own country. And the Pope is the head of state, but it's not a head of state that the United States recognizes. Like, so the United States doesn't recognize the Pope as the head of state of Vatican City, like they recognize the King of England is the King of England. It's not the same thing because it's a religious appointment and not something else. I don't remember the rules that we found, but so we decided that technically he probably could still vote in American elections if he didn't renounce his U.S. citizenship. I don't know whether or not he has to renounce his U.S. citizenship to go be the Pope, but like he also has Peruvian citizenship at the same time. So I don't know about that, but even if he could continue to vote in American elections, he probably should just abstain because he's supposed to be in a non-political position. And quite frankly, the guy gets to be Pope, okay? Maybe he could give up. Like he just doesn't have to. He is from Chicago. He's not going to change anything anyway. So I think that's what we decided, that he probably could get away with it based on the letter of the law, but he probably shouldn't for moral and ethical reasons. And since he's supposed to be like the moral leader of the world now, probably should abstain. Anyway, so Tim thinks the woke right is retarded. He is correct about that. Okay, that's a good update. So what are we going to watch tonight? I've got a fun lineup of shows tonight. So we are going to start off doing the thing that I really probably shouldn't do. This is probably the most ill-considered way to start this show, if we're being like really honest about it. Now, who here has seen this video? Who here has seen this video? One in the chat if you've seen this video. Two in the chat if you have not seen this video. I have had this song stuck in my head since I heard it. For real. I have never even really listened to Kanye West before. Like, never, because it's just not my type of music, right? I like hardcore music. I like rock. I like punk. I like all those things. I like white people music, okay? No offense. Everyone's allowed to like what they like, but I like white people music. And not even like country and stuff. I know that country is probably also like way more white people music than the music I like, but like, you know, can we like I like punk, okay? There just aren't a lot of people of color in the punk community. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, we're all good. Yeah, exactly. Now Karlyn's gonna make it be stuck in our heads. Exactly. This is all part of my evil plan. All right. So it seems like some of you have seen this video and some people haven't. This is Kanye West's new video, or Ye. I can't wrap my head around calling him Ye for whatever reason. And this is probably going to be the most controversial thing that I play on the channel since Kanye West was on InfoWars that time with Nick Fuentes. And I just want to say before we play this video, and I have things I want to say about it, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I disavow absolutely everything in this video. This is a horrible song, okay? It is a horrible, horrible, horrible song. It's really bad. The lyrics are the worst possible lyrics he ever could have written. I don't know what he was thinking. I do not avow any of the lyrics at all. Hitler was the worst possible person in the history of the world. No less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And if you say one Jew less, then you are an anti-Semite. It all happened exactly like they said it did. Gas chambers totally have wooden doors. Okay, that's absolutely true. And I just don't know why anyone would question that at all. I certainly would never, ever, 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 ever question that. So Hitler was a horrible person. He's burning in hell right now, along with every other person. We universally disavow Hitler and the Holocaust in every possible way. There is no anti-Semitism allowed on this channel. If I see anyone being anti-Semitic in the chat, I'm banning your ass, okay? But I comment on culture on the internet, and you have to admit that this is a cultural moment. This is a cultural moment, much in the same way Kanye West buying a Super Bowl ad that he filmed on his iPhone at the dentist's office and then sent people to his website where the only thing that was available for sale was a swastika t-shirt. That was a cultural moment. That doesn't mean we avow. That doesn't mean we are on the side of Hitler and everything that is wrong in the world. We are decidedly not on that side at all. But these are cultural moments and we have to pay attention to these. And you can't just pretend these didn't happen, YouTube. All right. So I'm gonna play this song and I need everyone to disavow the lyrics and then we can talk about how horrible it is. Okay, I want to play this song. Let's listen. Let's listen.
Man, these people took my kids from me, then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in a matrix, where the fuck's my nitrous? Yes, I am a cook, I like when people fuck on my dick. The shit that I post on Twitter, they telling me, hey, don't say that. How niggas can't see me in public, I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all of the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all of the money and fame, I still don't get to see my children.
Damn it, I thought I got one without that.
So I became a Nazi, yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. Nigga, how Hitler? Nigga, how Hitler? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Nigga, how Hitler? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler? How Hitler? Nigga, how Hitler? She wanna fuck with Japan. I put the crumb on the Benz. She reaching down in my pants. She got the world in her hands.
Nur richtiger ist. Ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich Jahre verwendet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Wie du jetzt keine Stimme mehr? Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich. Wenn ja.
How's everyone feeling right now? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'm so annoyed. I thought I found one without Sneeko in the middle of it because, like, this is the only version I could find on X anymore because I can't imagine why X is taking this down. I can't imagine why they would be taking this video down and then people have to re-upload new versions of it. There was again, obviously Hitler's the worst person that ever lived. We totally disavow that Hitler speech at the end of that video, but yeah, he did. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. I gotta say, I was not expecting to like this song. I was not expecting to like it, apart from the subject matter, of course, because it's just not my type of music. I don't listen to it. I have had this song stuck in my head for 2 straight effing days. I cannot get it out of my head. It's like that I don't know what like the section of these songs are called or anything, but that part at the end, like where it's just like, it's so powerful. It's so it almost doesn't even matter what words you put with it, to be honest. The song itself is so powerful. And this music video is amazing. This is art. This is beautiful. Like how, like, just like the strength that all those men had in that video, like you could feel it coming off of them. You could feel the energy coming off of them. Like they were in some headspace when they, like, I don't know what they did to those guys on that set to get them in like that, like warrior headspace. But whoever took all of those men through whatever exercise or ritual they took them to get them all locked into that warrior headspace. Like, seriously. And again, I don't care what words they were singing. I don't care. That was art. And I know people are saying, like, there's it's going to be the soundtrack to the Fuentes campaign. I mean, obviously disavow that. I mean, that would be a horrible idea. That Nick should definitely not do that. But like, I don't know how you can listen to that song unless you just can't get past words you don't like and not admit how compelling that is. Can we listen to it again? Can we just do it again? Do you guys mind? One more time? Just especially for the people who just experienced it for the first time. Okay, again.
Man, these people took my kids from me, then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in a matrix, when I flush my nitrous. Yes, I am a cook, I like when people fuck on my dick. The shit that I'm posting on Twitter, they telling me, yeah, don't say that. How niggas can't see me in public, I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all of the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all of the money and fame, I still don't get to see my children. Niggas see my Twitter, but they don't see how I be feeling. So I became a Nazi, yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. Nigga, how Hitler? Nigga, how Hitler? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler? She wanna fuck with Japan. I put the crumb on the bench. She reaching down in my pants. She got the world in her hands.
Meine Arbeit für richtig hältst. Ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich. Wenn ja,
I don't even care that Kanye West is insane. All right. I don't even care because you have to be insane to make art like that. People get that, right? You can't. Great art in the world does not come from sane people. Great art in the world comes from people who do shit like that. Rottweiler, the fish sticks joke in South Park really broke. Yeah, I'm sure that's what did it. I'm sure that's what did it. But do you guys understand what I'm talking? Yes, this is absolutely art. And listen, I understand that there will be people that do not understand that this is art. Sometimes art is one of those things where you either get that it's art or you don't. And I think that some people naturally understand art, and I think that some people naturally do not understand art. And I think that the people who don't naturally understand it can come to love it and to come to appreciate it, but they have to proactively learn like what art is, right? That's art. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant in so many different ways. It's beautiful. It's powerful. You can't get it out of your head once it's in there. It's like, I don't know, man. He is able to lock into something about what human beings respond to in this video, and the language in it, and the fact that it pisses so many people off, and the fact that it's getting banned everywhere because it pisses so many people off. It's so impressive how he's able to put these things together where it's like, listen, I'm not like, okay, no, I know that we use dry humor and sarcasm to poke fun at the fact that there are certain things that I can say on YouTube and there are certain things I can't say on YouTube. But for real, for a second, like hinged into reality, I don't love the Hitler stuff. Like on a personal level, I just don't love it. I think sometimes it's fun to, bring it up just because you're not supposed to bring it up. I think it's fun to talk about because it triggers people. I mean, Hitler had great fashion sense. There were a lot of great pictures of Hitler, and he can still, be the most horrible person in the history of the world and have those things be true. So I'm not opposed to having conversations about it, but the people that are super into Hitler, like, and all that stuff, that's not it. That's not it for me either. So I'm not one of those people that's like, it's not the lyrics that make me love this. Although the offensiveness of the lyrics juxtaposed with just how fucking brilliant this is, it's perfect. It's perfect. Art is supposed to offend people. I don't know when people started to get the idea that art was supposed to be just universally liked and totally milquetoast and not provoke any human emotion or any human reaction at all. Yeah, this is the psychology of the forbidden. Exactly. So I love this. I love this. I love this song. I love this video. I think it's just perfect. And it can be perfect regardless of if you agree with the language and regardless of if you are personally offended at the words that he used in his song. Because the reason it's perfect is that it triggers people that badly. The reason that it's perfect is because it taps in to the core of the worst thing that you can possibly say in this world right now, and it says, I'm going to say whatever I want because you are the ones that pushed me to this point. That's what this song is really about, in my estimation. You are the ones that pushed me to this point. You did this and this and this and this and this, and then I became the villain. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I have nothing bad to say about this. And I am now like motivated to did I just overlook Kanye West? I mean, I don't know. Like, again, this is just not my type of music normally, but are there things of his that I need to go back and listen to now? Because now he has my attention. Listen, I think that hip hop is mostly dumb. No offense to people who like hip hop. I mostly think it's just like very kind of like base, low level. I don't think it's very smart most of the time. But like, obviously Kanye West knows how to make art. And so that has me intrigued about other things. You know what I'm saying? Just going through the chat, seeing what you guys have to say. So let me see. 1 in the chat if you like this video, 2 in the chat if you do not like this video. Let me see what you guys are saying. I'm honestly curious. I guess I could do a poll, but I don't feel like it. 1 in the chat if you like this video, 2 in the chat if you do not like this video. Dang, dang, dang. Awful lot of 1s. Awful lot of 1s. Couple 2s. Even a couple 3s. Maybe some I don't knows. Half and half. That's okay. It's all right. It's all right, whichever team you're on. I was honestly just curious. I think it's great. I'm glad he did this. I'm going to be interested to see what happens because, like, how are they going to even get this song out there? It seems like they have to try to... I mean, they've already been banned on all the streaming services, right? So, will this song get out there? Will normies start hearing it? It's like, again, it's one of those things where, like, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. So, I'm going to be anxious to watch what happens there. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, well, we're going to see how this goes. So, this has a little preamble. So, as you guys know, Jordan Peterson has been going insane for a very, very, very long time. But Jordan Peterson has particularly descended into the roots of, well, Zionist shillery, and I'm going to call it Zionist shillery induced insanity in like the past year or so, where he's just clinging on to his Daily Wire masters with all of his might. And he's saying whatever he needs to say and he's doing whatever he needs to do. No, see, here's the thing. HGTutor hasn't taken notice yet. But we're going to manifest this, okay? Or I'm going to try to manifest this, and we're going to see how this goes. So no, you guys didn't miss anything, but I do have a plan here. I do have a plan. There's always a method to my madness, as you know. You guys didn't miss anything. He didn't cover it, but I really, 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 really want him to. Very, very, very badly. Desperately badly. And so I went over to his channel today and I was like, okay, please, HGTutor, please, can you do something other than Meghan Markle videos? Please. Can you do anything other than... Because listen, I actually really like HGTutor's content. I cannot watch another damn Meghan Markle video. I can't do it. I'm done. I don't want to hear about that bitch. I don't care. I don't care about her show or her jam or any of this stuff. I don't care, okay? I don't care about the analysis of like when she's going to leave Harry and if she's cheating on him or like whatever. I don't care. I don't care. And that's not an HGTutor thing. That's a Meghan Markle thing. There's only so much that one can take. All right. So I stopped watching his content a while ago, but every once in a while, like a person pops up and I'm like, I wonder if HGTutor covered that person. So I went to his page and it looks like he's been doing this Beckham thing with like the wife of the child. I don't really know much about that, but a lot of Meghan Markle videos. A lot of Meghan Markle videos, a ton of Meghan Markle videos and royal videos and all that stuff. Meghan Markle, just all Meghan Markle. And I was like, no, HGTutor, you have missed a golden opportunity. Wait, did I see Trump? He's covering Trump. Maybe we'll have to watch Trump at some point, see what he says about that. So I was like, no, HGTutor is not covering him. And it's very, very upsetting. And then I decided, Karlyn, why don't you just search his page? Why don't you just search it? Oh, wait. HGTutor covered Jordan Peterson a couple years ago. When was this exactly? 2 years ago? Oh, it's not pulling up the date. I guess I would have to click into it. Couple years ago, it looks like HGTutor at least mentioned Jordan Peterson in 2 videos. And in one of those videos, it was Peterson versus Crazy. And in the other one of those videos, it was Peterson Strikes Back. So I don't know, was there something between Jordan Peterson and Meghan Markle at some point? And the reason I bring this up is I kind of wonder, and I haven't watched these videos, I don't know. But I kind of wonder, did HGTutor do any commentary in these videos about Jordan Peterson? And possibly because Jordan Peterson has been going insane for a long time. I mean, Jordan Peterson was addicted to benzos. Like, Jordan Peterson did that crazy video where he was just like, he looked like a homeless person in his own home. Like, Jordan Peterson's been going crazy for a long time. So it wouldn't have been like out of the realm of possibility that HGTutor would have covered him a couple years ago. I don't know. But I kind of want to watch these videos and we'll just look at them briefly. And I want to see if HGTutor made any comment on Jordan Peterson's state back then to see maybe he was talking about them both being narcissists and being in some sort of fight. I don't know. But I want to say this. One of the reasons I want to do this is that I'm serious. I need HGTutor to cover Jordan Peterson. It would be the best thing that's ever happened if HGTutor did an analysis on Jordan Peterson. I think everyone would really love that. For people who don't know who we're talking about, HGTutor is a narcissistic psychopath, but he's aware of what he is, and he actually does really interesting videos about narcissism and psychopathy and all sorts of other stuff. He analyzes a metric ton of Meghan Markle, but like he talks about other stuff too, especially if you go into his back catalog. He's actually got a really good back catalog of just pure narcissism content where he breaks down the psychology of it. He explains how he sees the world as a narcissist. He explains, I've read like all of his books. I've read like 15 of this guy's books. They're actually really good. And I've learned a lot about a lot of things, not just narcissism, by the way. He understands psychology in general, maybe sometimes not as well as he thinks he does, but like on these topics, he's very, very, very good. So it's an excellent resource if you're looking for stuff like that. But most of what he does these days is he analyzes celebrities and people that get him views on YouTube and stuff like that, which is exactly what you would expect a narcissist to do. If he realizes the Meghan Markle videos are getting the most views and making the most money and helping to grow his channel, he'll do it because he's a narcissist and that's what he cares about, attention and results and like all that, then being the best and the king narcissist of the internet and all that stuff, right? So I really want HGTutor to cover Jordan Peterson. And I think the way that maybe he should think about this is that I think if HGTutor covered Jordan Peterson and we all got to be entertained by that content, I think that he would get a metric ton of views on Twitter HGTutor's Twitter account doesn't usually get that much interaction, doesn't usually get that much views. And I say that with all due respect, but like I can look at numbers too, right? Now imagine this. Imagine if we got or requested very politely, because you can never get a narcissist to do anything. You have to request very politely, and then they decide whether or not they want to do it based on what's going to be most beneficial to them, right? So if we could, I don't know. Here's how I would position this. What if HGTutor could get like a metric ton of views on his content by covering if Jordan Peterson is a narcissist, obviously giving him the very clear diagnosis. Oh my God, I've had a long day. Sorry. Diagnosis, even. He should give him the very, very clear and obvious diagnosis that Jordan Peterson is absolutely a narcissist. And what if HGTutor broke down Jordan Peterson's narcissism in conjunction with a video where he mentioned Nick Fuentes? Here's what I'm talking about. When HGTutor does analysis of the people that he's trying to figure out if they're a narcissist or not, what he does is he goes through and he gets a variety of evidence, as one would do. And so in the case of Jordan Peterson, if I was HGTutor and I wanted to get a metric ton of views on Twitter, what I would do is I would revisit this incident from over the summer. So let me take you back. It is, what is the date on this? June 27th, 2024. Almost a year ago. Time flies. Lomez on Twitter says, the weirdest thing about this is realizing we don't have a president, haven't for a while, and nobody has any clue who is making decisions on behalf of our country. Obviously, he's talking about Joe Biden. Nobody even bothers to ask who exactly is in charge. No one knows. Nick Fuentes, because he is precocious, replied with one single word to that question, and that word was Jews. Now, obviously, just like with the Kanye West video, we disavow all anti-Semitism. The Holocaust was the worst thing that ever happened. Hitler was awful. He's burning in hell. No less than 10 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Whatever. I'm not making a comment on the possible subtext behind young Nicholas's very precocious post. But what I will point out is it's literally just one word. It's one word. He didn't say he hated the Jews. He didn't say to kill the Jews. He didn't say to do any of these things. He responded with one word, and that one word was Jews. And for that, he got a hateful conduct warning on Twitter, because apparently just saying one word, Jews, on Twitter for no good reason. I mean, listen, I think we can all agree that anti-Semitism is horrible and wrong and the worst thing that's ever happened. But is saying the word Jews anti-Semitism now? I don't think that necessitated a hateful conduct warning myself. But Jordan Peterson obviously did. And here's where we get into the part that HGTutor really should cover. Jordan Peterson obviously did believe that in Nick Fuentes saying the word Jews, that was the most worst. I'm just doing great tonight with speaking. The worst thing that could possibly be said ever. And Jordan Peterson retweeted Nick Fuentes and said, "You, Nick J. Fuentes, really are a psychopathic rat." Now, a very becoming thing for a clinical psychologist to say, of course. Well, fast forward. What was this, like a week later or something? Now, you're going to see this is a deleted post that Nick is responding to. Nick is responding to Michaela Peterson. And I don't remember exactly what Michaela Peterson said, but it was something to the effect of, you shouldn't dehumanize people by calling them rats. It was something just very on the nose about, like, really calling someone a rat is the worst possible dehumanization you can do. I'm sure someone has a screenshot of it somewhere. And so, again, Nick Fuentes, being that he is precocious, responded to Michaela Peterson and said, "Your dad literally called me a rat last week. Thank you for exposing yourself and revealing who you really work for. Both of you freaks should be deported to Israel since you love it so much. They can have you." And again, there's the image of Jordan Peterson calling Nick Fuentes a rat. And then Jordan Peterson started responding to Nick Fuentes. Wait, is this the one I wanted next? Is this the one I wanted next? I feel like there was another one. Hang on. I feel like there's another one. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Here it is. That one that we were just looking at, that's the next one. So then when Nick Fuentes responded to Michaela and said, "You literally called my dad, or excuse me, your dad literally called me a rat last week," Jordan Peterson retweeted Nick Fuentes. And now Jordan Peterson is writing full-on sonnets. So I don't know if this is what narcissists do or psychopaths do or a combination of the two, or if HGTutor might have some other diagnosis. But like, I don't understand like the sonnet. Like he's writing poetry to respond to Nick Fuentes to call him a rat. "I apologize for calling you a rat, Nick J. Fuentes. Rats are just animals. They happen to be an enemy of mankind, so they are like you in that regard, but they are merely acting on instinct, whereas you are motivated by a willful ignorance so deep that it's a kind of miracle in combination with a profound malevolence. So I was unfair to the rats. Hence my apology. Take note, Michaela." And then he continued the poem. "I don't regret the psychopath moniker, however. You and your followers, I know your type, buddy boy, but you don't know mine." And that's the parody account, I think. Wait, is that him? Oh, and then he said, I don't think I've ever seen this. "Finally, I hope with all my heart that you reap the full benefit of the stunningly vile company you keep, attract, cultivate, and deserve." Hey man, listen, I was a VIP in Nick's event. I met the Groypers. I thought the Groypers were fun to hang out with. I had a great time at AFPAC. So I don't know what Jordan Peterson's got, like, his big deal is. He's supposed to be a world-renowned... Isn't Jordan Peterson supposed to be, like, the expert in young men? I don't know. But this happened a long time ago. I'm not going to relitigate the whole thing. But then it continued because then people started making pictures of Jordan Peterson as a rat. So Jordan didn't like that too much because AI art is a thing. And Jordan Peterson started writing more poetry. "Dear Elon Musk, there is a lot of this on X and more all the time. There is no consequence for psychopathic behavior on the platform, and casual anonymity has a lot to do with it. Separate the real people with verified and genuine ideas." Oh, so this is when Jordan Peterson started arguing that no one should be able to be anonymous on the internet, which I'm sure HGTutor would really appreciate since he himself, as a narcissistic psychopath in real life, is anonymous on the internet. So I don't know, maybe that could be something to comment on. I don't know. "You are not lol comedians having fun with lul's culture. They are worse than anyone wants to imagine, and purposefully so. Failure to hold them accountable not only compromises the platform, but the integrity of society itself, as the dark tetrad types multiply without restraint and exert disproportionate influence. And consider this, sir. I don't give a damn about the personal attacks." Oh yeah, Jordan, you definitely don't give a damn about the personal attacks. Yeah, totes, bro. I've faced worse than this latest cockroach swarm, but I'm serious about the broader social danger posed by the children of Cain. They've gained the upper hand before, and it's not pretty. I miss Lauren Chen. Lauren Chen, every once in a while, Lauren Chen likes tweets on my timeline. Every once in a while, I see her icon show up, and I'm like, Lauren, I miss you. Come back. But I know she can't, but love Lauren Chen. So anyway, I guess my point is that if I was HGTutor and I wanted to get a metric ton of views on Twitter, what I would do is I would start from this phase of Jordan Peterson's kind of like downfall, because this moment where Jordan Peterson called Nick Fuentes a rat repeatedly and in sonnet, in poetry, this was one of the key defining moments of Jordan Peterson's downfall. As we know, since then, Jordan Peterson has been involved in some fake study at some university where now they're saying that saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic and proof of psychopathy and dark tetrad cluster B personality disorder or something like that. So Jordan Peterson was shilling this study all like the last couple of weeks or so, where he went on Fox News and he looked like an absolute shell of himself, and he was like talking about how everyone who's anonymous online is a psychopath. This was a key moment leading up to that. And I just think that if HGTutor covered this, especially if he included stuff about Nick Fuentes, he doesn't have to like Nick Fuentes. He doesn't have to be on Nick Fuentes' side. But like if he diagnosed Jordan Peterson as a narcissist or a psychopath, which he obviously is, then I think that HGTutor would get a metric ton of views on Twitter. I think all the Groypers would share it. I think people like Elijah Schaffer would share it. I think people like Jake Shields would share it. I think all the people who love Nick would share it, because if they could get a video of Jordan Peterson being diagnosed as a narcissist by the king narcissist of the internet, this is going to be like one of the best things that's ever happened to them. And I think that they're going to really revel in it because they hate Jordan Peterson. They will take advantage of any clip that they can have on Jordan Peterson. And I know that every once in a while, HGTutor has dipped his toes in this particular pond, but he hasn't dipped his toes in like this. And maybe I think that HGTutor is much smarter than covering Meghan Markle every damn day. And maybe looking at something like this would be an opportunity for him to do something different and cover a topic that would get him a metric ton of views in an audience he doesn't currently have. So I'm just saying, if I was a narcissist, this would be something I would want to do. And I want to go back and watch these other videos that HGTutor did in which he mentions Jordan Peterson, just to see if there's any inkling that maybe HGTutor might understand what's going on here, or at least he did back then. Like, listen, maybe he wasn't paying full attention. I understand if he wasn't paying full attention, but I'm just saying that times have changed, and I think we all need to manifest this into reality, okay? So I do want to go back and watch those videos. I know they're a little bit older. And then once we do that, guys, if you watch the HGTutor videos with me, after the HGTutor videos, I'm going to watch Sargon of Akkad talk about James Lindsay's appearance on Jordan Peterson, which is, so this is like the grand finale of the stream, unless you guys send in more super chats, and then I'll watch that Tim Pool thing. But like, this is the payoff. So we're going to watch some HGTutor stuff. I know not everyone wants to watch that because many people don't even know who he is. We're going to see what he said about Jordan Peterson 2 years ago. And then once we're done that, we're going to watch this. Okay? That is the plan. So we're going to do this one first, this one second. And if HGTutor's not talking about Jordan Peterson at all, I'll kind of like, you know, you guys don't understand. He's got this big boom at the beginning of his videos, and it just went off, and it surprised me. And you guys didn't hear the sound, but you're going to hear it this time. It was like, boom. All right, let's see what Jordan or HGTutor had to say 2 years ago about Jordan Peterson. When did he post this? Hang on. October 11th, 2022. Another episode of Archetypes, and this time it's crazy, and Jordan Peterson is apparently in Harry's wife's sights. Oh, so Jordan Peterson was the target here. Okay, let's see. That's what went off in my ear.
Harry's Wife, Part 102.47. Peterson.
If you guys had to choose between who was crazier, who would you choose? Would you choose Jordan Peterson or would you choose HGTutor? Wait, Tim did talk about James. Can you give me a timestamp? I'll watch that for sure. If someone sends me a timestamp of, and he called him pathetic and desperate, if someone sends me a timestamp of Tim talking about James on his show, I'll totally watch that. Okay, 1 in the chat if you think that Jordan Peterson would be crazier than Meghan Markle. 2 in the chat if you think that Meghan Markle would be crazier than Jordan Peterson. Let me know. Yeah, his voice. He also has... HGTutor has really dense energy, so...
Versus crazy.
Oh, I haven't heard his voice
Hello,
in a long time.
I'm HGTutor. As promised, more dissection of what comes out of the latest Archetypes podcrap. This time we turn to the Mail Online with an article by Rory Tingle. Leads with the headline, Harry's wife says she's been labelled crazy and hysterical as she lashes out at Hollywood female stereotypes and reveals Harry found her help when she was at her worst point. In new episode, Harry's wife hits out at sitcoms, How I Met Your Mother and Scrubs for their crazy women tropes. She also mentions philosopher Jordan Peterson, who said, I don't think that men can control crazy women. Have a word with me, Jordan. I'm sure I can help you in that respect.
I don't think that men can control crazy women.
Harry's wife today used her latest Archetypes podcast to take a swipe at popular US sitcoms, How I Met Your Mother and Scrubs, in a discussion about how the label crazy is used to diminish women's credibility. Well, it can also be applied to men as well, you know, Harry's wife. Crazy doesn't know gender. The 5th episode of the Spotify series begins with the Duchess of Sussex issuing a trigger warning, advising anyone to tune out if they find the content too heavy. Well, perhaps she ought to issue a trigger warning for anybody to tune out if they find it dull and beige. Oh dear, that would mean nobody were listening to it. Before she then criticizes Hollywood for its stereotyping of crazy hot females. Harry's wife describes how she herself has been called crazy and hysterical. I note she doesn't make mention of hot, though, but I dare say she does think of herself as that, before revealing the moment that, at her worst point, Prince Harry found her a referral to a therapist. Hang on a minute, I thought she didn't have any help. Anyway, she says the anecdote shows the need to be really honest about what it is that you need and to not be afraid to make peace with that, to ask for it. The 41-year-old also speaks about feeling lonely, pity play, and like I didn't fit in, pity play, revision of history, at school, before describing how, as an adult, she often wants to feel so deeply it's like an Adele album. Oh my fucking giddy aunt. Yes, you want to feel so deeply to music that wants to compel you to take your own life, because that's my view of Adele music. It's music to slit your wrists to, surely. But the fact is, to say she wants to feel so deeply it's like an Adele album is demonstrative of just how she actually doesn't know how to feel. She just thinks she knows how she feels because she equates feeling deeply to like listening to an Adele album. Right. But believes she is being conditioned not to show intense emotion in public. What? Such like a death stare? Today's 55-minute installment, titled The Decoding of Crazy, begins by Harry's wife addressing listeners. Raise your hand if you've ever been called crazy, or hysterical, or what about nuts. Insane out of your mind, completely irrational, okay? You get the point, she says. The Duchess then continues, now if we were all in the same room and could see each other, which invariably is what happens when you're in the same room, I think it would be pretty easy.
I think people should just be embraced being called crazy. myself. Like I said, we were talking about this when we were talking about the Yay video. Crazy people make the best art. Why do you want to be sane? Why do you want to be normal? Why do you want to be around people who would look at someone that thinks differently than them and go, they're crazy? Because most people don't have a personality disorder, as it turns out. And so, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to be like, there's nothing more. Yeah, exactly, Brooks. Exactly. We're all mad here, motherfucker. Just embrace it, accept it. Someone says, you're crazy. Like millions of people have said I'm crazy. Literally millions of people have said I'm crazy. Who really cares? And in the meantime, what are those people doing? Probably nothing interesting.
Easy to see just how many of us have our hands up. By the way, me too. And it's no wonder when you consider just how prevalent these labels are in our culture. Harry's wife then plays a series of quotes, including one from American sitcom How I Met Your Mother, in which the character Neil Patrick Harris, playing the character Barney, says, if she's this crazy, she has to be this hot. It's a fictional program. People like Harry's wife, jumping on the woke bandwagon, don't want anybody to use their imaginations. They don't want anybody to use humor or take the piss because they...
Oh, gosh. Oh, I forgot that HGTutor used to talk about woke stuff. Isn't that so adorable? And I say this with all due respect. Isn't that so adorable that HGTutor thinks that Meghan Markle is the most woke thing in the world? Oh, my Lord. If only I had the naivete of someone who thought that Meghan Markle was like, and what she was doing was the most woke thing in the world. If only I had that experience. Ignorance really is bliss sometimes, I'll tell you what.
They find, naturally, that it's a threat to control. And without realizing what it actually is, her narcissism, she and others like her deem that they are somehow the moral guardians of people's feelings. The fact is, it's a joke that's being made, and if you don't like it, don't watch How I Met Your Mother. The fact is, yes, television and books will always influence people's behavior, but for most people, it doesn't. They're perfectly intelligent and capable enough of realizing this is a computer game. I am not now compelled to mimic Grand Theft Auto 4 by going outside, punching the first person on the street, taking their money, and then jacking a car. Most people are capable of recognizing that it's a bug and that they don't suddenly need to know and grass up their neighbor to say, they've got bugs in that house, call the fireman. This is Fahrenheit 451. Most people are capable of realizing it's a television program or a film, and that Tom Cruise does not habitually run across rooftops in London, knacking his ankle in the process, nevertheless. But it's a film, and it's there to entertain. These do-gooders, these woke-tards, naturally, believing themselves to be moral guardians, want to strip all of this away from people. People such as you listening to me today.
Just watch what happens if HGTutor ever discovers what queer is.
They want to take all of that away from you because they are so patronizing and condescending that they believe that you're not capable of realizing that this is just a book, film, piece of literature, a television program, a piece of music, a computer game, and you're perfectly capable of making your own value judgment as to what you take from it. Yes, every once in a while we can find some dumb fuck that is heavily influenced by something that causes them to go out and do something that's inappropriate. But what we forget, or rather what many people forget, is that as you can point to that one individual who decided that he was going to try and recreate Grand Theft Auto, the other 100 million people that play it around the world didn't recreate it. A sense of perspective is required. And unfortunately, it is those doom-mongerers, those individuals that take it upon themselves to try and tell you what you should watch, what you should listen to, rather than allowing you to make a judgment for yourself.
Wow.
And
that kind of sounds like Jordan Peterson today, doesn't it? How prophetic HGTutor was back then. See, HGTutor really does have insight into people that you just don't even know he has. That's how good of a narcissist he is. And so I think it's really prophetic that HGTutor was pointing out 2 years ago that maybe Jordan Peterson today would become one of those people that's trying to tell people what ideas they can have and what content they can watch and what they can consider and what they can say, and literally writing entire haikus calling people rats when they say one word that Jordan Peterson doesn't like because Jordan Peterson works for the Daily Wire and is therefore beholden to Israel. HGTutor was right. See, we should have come to him all along. He always knew. And I think it would be amazing if he did like an update series now to really clearly point out that it is Jordan Peterson who is acting like a woke tard.
They impose their own standards on you through their prism of narcissism,
Yep.
which is,
He was saying it for years.
I deem people being called crazy hot offensive because, unbeknownst to that mid-range narcissist, it threatens their innate need for control. And so in order to nullify that threat to control, they have to make moral pronouncements about how television programs shouldn't contain things like this, because then all the men in the world will go around saying, if she's this crazy, she has to be this hot. Most men don't. And even some that do recognize that it's a joke. But this is the problem with the way that the world is going. Anyway, continuing with the article, this is followed by the conservative philosopher Jordan Peterson, who says, I don't think that men can control crazy women. Well, where they're crazy narcissists, Mr. Peterson, what it would be better to say is, don't attempt it. Instead, control yourself and implement a total no-contact regime. The third segment, the article tells us, comes from another American sitcom, Scrubs, in which the fictional female Dr. Elliot, Sarah Chalk, comments, I can't take it, Carla. I can't hide the crazy a minute longer. I'm just this big mountain of cuckoo is about to erupt and spew molten crazy all over him, and he's going to die like this. Again, Scrubs is a highly entertaining program that's very well written, and Harry's wife, devoid of any sense of humor, is unable to determine, again, that this is just humor, and most people can recognize it. After the segments air, Harry's wife says, calling someone crazy or hysterical completely dismisses their experience and minimizes what they're feeling. No, actually, it doesn't. It's often done in a joking way, and certainly in fictional representations. You, of course, Harry's wife, deem it as a threat to control because of your narcissism, but you don't know that. The article continues. It keeps going to the point where anyone who's been labeled it enough times can be gaslit, into thinking that they're actually unwell, or sometimes worse, to the point where real issues of all kinds get ignored. Well, that's not happening today. At the end of the podcast, Harry's wife read from a poem, Breathe by Becky Hemsley, which she said was texted to her by a friend and has served as her North Star during Archetypes, Triangulation. The strikingly personal passage describes a woman facing contradictory expectations who goes on to find solace in nature.
Hang on. Bellium says, I haven't watched Tudor's content at all. Is Megan a narcissist? Oh, big time. Oh, yeah. In like, it's like, once you see it, like, I mean, if you're new to like all the narcissism stuff, she might actually be a really good person to like learn the signs on, to be honest. And he's got, again, like a metric ton of content breaking down her narcissism. But no shit. No shit. Do you guys know what this means? Tim Pool just mentioned James Lindsay's stepdaughter. Which, okay, on one hand I feel bad because I know James Lindsay's stepdaughter, and I know that she's just trying to live her life and be left alone. And I know she doesn't want to get dragged into this stuff. And so I'm not happy that she might be getting dragged into this stuff. But what this means is that Tim Pool is at least aware on some level that James Lindsay's stepdaughter revealed on Twitter that James is in an open marriage with his wife that he's forced his wife to be in because his wife told Britta Bongwater, who is his stepdaughter, that she didn't want to be in the open marriage because James wanted to go around to all of his events and bang all his mom groupies. He didn't pull up any tweets or anything, but he knows. Did he mention why he was mentioning Britta Bongwater? If Tim is mentioning this, he must be really fucking pissed. And I'm not upset about it. Not upset at all. Not upset at all. Everyone eventually comes around to the conclusion that I was right, even if they didn't like me being right at the time, and even if they blocked me for being right at the time, Tim. They eventually always come to my conclusion, even if it's months or years later, Tim. And Tim is eventually going to come to my conclusion about the left, too. He just doesn't know it yet. Thank you for that update. That was glorious. He said she was criticizing him or something. Yeah, she was criticizing him, all right. Yep. Yeah, she was. Yes. I would say that revealing that he's in an open marriage with her mother that her mother doesn't want to be in, but James forces her to be in so he can go fuck his groupies all over the country. Yeah, I would say that she was criticizing him. Yep. And Phil Labontes didn't say a word. Of course he didn't. What? Absolutely useless man. Useless rock star.
If only Harry's wife would go and find some solace in nature, the frozen wastes of the Canadian North, perhaps. Eventually, she decides one day to ask what was best for herself, instead of trying to please everyone else. And again, Harry's wife, through character trait acquisition, believes that she goes around trying to please everyone else, whereas everybody else can see that all she does is please herself. The new release is described as an in-depth and vulnerable conversation with Indian actress Deepika Padukone, American comedian Jenny Slate, and American actress Constance Wu, who bravely revealed how she had once tried to take her own life.
And by the way, if you guys are looking for the receipts that James Lindsay's stepdaughter went on Twitter and said repeatedly that James was in an open marriage with her mother, I covered that whole incident on this channel over the course of multiple videos. And so you can go back into the archive and find it. But there are receipts for every single thing that I said. I just want to make sure people know this. I'm not making stuff up. James Lindsay's stepdaughter posted this on Twitter. Okay. And so it's absolutely real. And you can go find the receipts because I covered it at the time, as a responsible journalist would do, okay?
Among its revelations, Harry's wife says she's been labelled crazy, hysterical, nuts, and insane, although doesn't reveal who did this. Go to my immediate video for a long list of people who may well have said that to her. Says she feels pretty strongly about the word crazy and that families have been shattered by its use. Which ones? Takes a swipe at Scrubs and How I Met Your Mother, as well as the conservative philosopher Jordan Peterson. Says stigma around word crazy has a silencing effect, especially for those with real mental health issues. Describes calling a therapist after Harry found her at a referral while she had reached my lowest point. Speaks about times at high school when she was lonely, or I didn't fit in, or there was a rumor about me. Says, I want to feel so deeply. It's like an Adele album, so much intense emotion, and you just get it out. Spoke about not having been on social media for a long time. Well, that's contradicted by Tom Bauer, who says she regularly checks the social media and what's being said about her. Actress Constance Wu describes how she attempted suicide and her feelings of shame afterwards. The Duchess says the stigma surrounding the word mad has a silencing effect, particularly for those experiencing real mental health issues. They get scared, they stay quiet, they internalize, and they repress for far too long. At no point while discussing being branded crazy does Harry's wife reveal who has done this to her, but she has previously spoken about feeling suicidal while a working member of the royal family. During her bombshell chat with Oprah Winfrey, the Duchess said her mental health battle left her feeling like she didn't want to be alive anymore, but she was never offered support as it wouldn't be good for the institution. At one point in today's podcast, Harry's wife speaks about the damage calling women crazy can cause. I feel pretty strongly about this word, this label crazy, the way that it's thrown around so casually, and the damage is rotten for society and women, frankly, everywhere, she says. From relationships to families being shattered, the reputations destroyed and careers ruined, the stigma surrounding the word does has this silencing effect. This affects women experiencing real mental health issues. What about the men? They get scared, they stay quiet, they internalize, and they repress for far too long. The Duchess cited the word hysteria, coming from the Greek for womb, saying Plato himself was actually amongst the Greek philosophers who believed that the womb would travel around the body, adding pressure to other organs, which would then lead to erratic and unreliable behavior. By the way, the DSM, the Book to Diagnose Mental Disorders, hysteria was an actual medical diagnosis until 1980. Slate said hysteria, craziness, like it's a disease of the people with the uteri, like the people with the emotions. What's this keep saying like for? It is a definition created by a man. It's a definition meant to shame and limit a certain type of experience. Then talks about the Ving project. I've already covered that elsewhere. Harry's wife mentioned how Harry had worked with injured veterans through initiatives like the Invictus Games. The Duke made his own public appearance yesterday on a video call with winners of the 2022 Well Child Awards. Don't need to go into greater detail about that. Doesn't really mention anything more about Peterson, which I'll have to wade into that more. But I'm sure that with her commenting about Jordan Peterson, I'm pretty certain that Mr. Peterson will have something to say for himself
I hope
about
he does.
that. And why not?
I hope he does.
Accordingly, we have yet more attempts at the facade management through.
Okay, so that seems to be the rest of the of all he had to say about that. But his next video was Peterson Strikes Back. So now we have the Jordan Peterson response, and we're going to continue. And again, we're just hoping that we get some insight into what HGTutor thought 2 years ago about Jordan Peterson's mental health, in hope that he will revisit the topic sometime very, very soon.
Harry's Wife, part 104.59. Peterson Strikes Back. Hello, I'm HGTutor. You may remember from parts passim that Harry's wife criticized the Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson. Well, it would appear that Mr. Peterson has struck out at her. Let's find out what he had to say and examine this with regard to the narcissistic dynamic.
Let's do so.
We turn to the reporting from Belinda Palmada again at news.com.au. It just grates on me. Jordan Peterson hits back at Harry's wife. Psychologist and author Jordan Peterson responded to Harry's wife after she took a swipe at him on her Archetypes podcast. Dr. Jordan Peterson has hit back at Harry's wife after she took a swipe at him in her podcast. Last month, the Duchess of Sussex took a swipe at the controversial psychologist on her Spotify series, Archetypes, over his use of the word crazy. The former Suits actress featured an audio clip of the self-help author saying, "I don't think that men can control crazy women." During an interview with Piers Morgan Uncensored,
And by the way, the real secret is that no one really ever controls anyone. The only time someone controls someone else is when that person is allowing themselves to be controlled. If they don't want to be controlled, they don't have to be controlled.
Dr. Peterson was asked how he felt about appearing on the Duchess's podcast as a villain. Her voice drips with the same falsehood that the voice of Kamala Harris drips with, he told the Sky News host. It's this sanctimonious, compassionate, talking down to her audience. Now, Dr. Peterson has got it nailed on, identifying that she speaks with falsehood, that she drips with this false compassion, and that she's sanctimonious. He sees straight through her, as so many other people do. While appearing to impersonate the royal, Dr. Peterson drew laughs from Piers Morgan as he continued.
Perhaps in retrospect, couldn't this be considered the response of a narcissist? Listen, again, I haven't listened to HGTutor's content in a while, and so I don't remember exactly what he called this, but isn't it true that when a narcissist is attacked, they're going to be inclined to strike back in some way? I'm remembering that properly, right? And so, listen, I'm not suggesting that what Jordan Peterson said isn't true, but we can also assess what was Jordan Peterson's motivation for saying it. Did Jordan Peterson have to respond to Meghan Markle? Really? Did anyone really care? I mean, listen, if Meghan Markle said something about me on her podcast, which there would be no reason for her to ever do, but if she said something about me, I would probably respond to it just because, like, if Meghan Markle said something about me And I responded, it wouldn't be because I necessarily care that Meghan Markle mentioned me on her podcast, because I probably honestly wouldn't care all that much. The reason I would care about it is in regards to using it as an opportunity to bring more audience into my content. And so that's why, because I don't think many people listen to Meghan Markle. I know that she's very famous and a lot of people know who she is. And I know that she's like technically a royal, but not really a royal because she's not in the royal family anymore. And but like I actually don't think that many people actually listen to her. And so I wouldn't be that upset from like a reputation perspective because I don't think people care, honestly. But it is an opportunity, right? And so if Jordan Peterson responded, why did he respond? What is his motivation? Is he pissed off that Meghan Markle said something about him? Because Jordan Peterson has a very strong reputation for literally blocking everyone on Twitter who says something he didn't like. Jordan Peterson blocked me on Twitter because I said, you should talk to Nick Fuentes. I wasn't mean about it. I wasn't a dick. I'm obviously not a groiper. I'm a woman. I can't be a groiper. I wasn't nasty to him. All I said is, you should talk to Nick Fuentes. Block. Almost instantly, by the way. And so, and you can see this all the time on Twitter. You say anything about Israel in Jordan Peterson's comments, block. You say anything about anything related to, you know, Ben Shapiro maybe not being on the up and up, block. Like he blocks people over everything. So Jordan Peterson doesn't really seem to be able to handle criticism all that well, which is particularly ironic since he tweeted something today like, you need to challenge yourself or something like that. It's like, Jordan, you don't even challenge yourself on Twitter. I just unblocked 17,000 people like 2 weeks ago. I unblocked everyone I ever blocked on Twitter. That's what challenging yourself actually looks like. I was actually scared when I decided to unblock everyone, but I was like, why don't I just see what happens? It's another shot for everyone, whatever. And I have blocked some people since because they're still being assholes, but I was like, get everyone a fresh slate. That was scary. I didn't know if people were going to like slam my replies or what was going to happen, but it actually worked out well. Jordan Peterson, on the other hand, literally blocks every single person who says something he doesn't like. So I wonder, was he striking back at Meghan Markle because he actually cared what Meghan Markle said about him on her podcast? I tend to think not. Was he striking back at Meghan Markle because he needed to use her to get in front of more people? I mean, Jordan Peterson's pretty famous in his own right. I don't think he needs Meghan Markle to make him famous. So why is he striking back? Might be because he can't handle criticism because he's a narcissist.
Trying to be sure that we're all really on the same
Loud.
compassionate page here, and we're all being victimized by terrible forces that are arrayed against us, and none of that's really fair. It just grates on me, he said. And I do believe that it is the case that it's very difficult to control female antisocial behavior, often of the type that's been pilloried as hysterical, and I think there is no shortage of clinical evidence to support precisely that claim. It's very difficult for women to control female antisocial behavior, and females who are antisocial, that feminine pattern is reputation salvaging under the guise of compassionate care, and it's extraordinarily destructive, so I stand by my words. This is not the first time Dr. Peterson has been criticized. Back in September, actress Olivia Wilde made comments about the psychologist. Speaking with Interview magazine about her latest film, Don't Worry Darling, the filmmaker explained the character Frank, played by Chris Pine, was based on the Canadian author. We base that character on this insane man, Jordan Peterson, who is this pseudo-intellectual hero
so
the
true.
incel community.
Not
she tells the
anymore.
outlet. The
Not anymore. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Jordan Peterson is decidedly not. Talk about, man. It really is a shame though, because I mean, I hear this from so many groypers that I kind of like hang around, or people that are like, you know, kind of like that age. Like Jordan Peterson appealed to so many young men. Jordan Peterson helped so many young men when they literally just needed someone to tell them that you can empower yourself and it's going to be okay, and just, you know, follow these certain ethical principles, and you can, and it was really good advice is the thing. It was good advice. And sometimes psychologists are really good at giving good advice, not so much good at taking advice, right? And so I hear all the time from people that like from younger men that they're so disappointed in what Jordan Peterson has become because they feel betrayed by him. He was someone that, and I mean, I experienced this with James Lindsay. I loved James Lindsay's work back in 2020. I thought it was great. I thought it was the best. I based a lot of my stuff early on the inspiration that I took from his work. And then James Lindsay went fucking insane, and then we had to admit that he lost his goddamn mind, and it's just the way it goes. But it's so funny to hear Jordan Peterson talked about it in this way because it just hasn't been this way for a long time.
Are explained that incels are disenfranchised, mostly white men who believe that they are entitled to sex from women.
That's not exactly right.
This guy, Jordan Peterson, is someone that legitimizes certain aspects of the incel movement because he's a former professor, he's an author, he wears a suit. So they feel like this is a real philosophy that should be taken seriously. Dr. Peterson broke down in tears during an interview with Piers Morgan Uncensored after discussing Wilde's comments. This insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community, incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways, is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people? Morgan asked. Sure, why not? People have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to young men. What a terrible thing to do, Dr. Peterson replied. It was at that point the controversial commentator.
It's so interesting to look back on this, though, isn't it? Like, I look back at Jordan Peterson now with a completely different perspective, and I think many people probably have this perspective. Did he ever actually care about any of this? Did he ever actually care about helping young men? Or was it all just a grift from the very beginning? Was that thing where he did this stunt at the college that he worked at where it seemed like he was getting attacked by this mob because he refused to use the pronouns? Did Jordan Peterson ever actually get in trouble for that? Or was that just a stunt? I mean, and the reason I bring that up is you look at someone like Billboard Chris. Billboard Chris, of course, is a Scientologist. Billboard Chris, of course, was in the Sea Org in Scientology. Billboard Chris, once he couldn't make it as one of those kind of like Scientologists who left Scientology, what happened is Leah Remini blocked Billboard Chris because Billboard Chris was trying to build this online brand of being a Scientologist that left Scientology when that was like a big thing. But apparently he pissed Leah Remini off, and Leah Remini blocked him on Twitter or something like that, or in some sort of Scientology community they had. And the very next day, Billboard Chris decides to become gender critical, and he starts doing the gender critical stuff. It was after he got excommunicated from the ex-Scientology community. And so the reason I bring this up is, and it is related to Jordan Peterson, if you watch Billboard Chris's videos where he goes to these protesting events and then all of a sudden everyone's trying to beat him up, Billboard Chris is provoking it. He's provoking it. He's using Scientology tactics. And you can see him do this. If you've ever watched any of these Scientologist videos where the Scientologists who are still in the church will go and try to provoke the ex-Scientologists to make them yell, to get clips of them that they can take out of context, to make everything look bad. They try to provoke situations to get people to react, so they then get that on video, and they then put that all over the internet. Billboard Chris does exactly the same thing. Except he does it when he's wearing a sign saying, "A dad protects kids from gender ideology," on the side of a road, and no one's doing nothing. No one's doing anything to him. And then he starts provoking fights with people. And then he pulls out his camera and he's like, "You're going to hit me. You're going to hit me. You're going to hit me." So it looks like they came at him. But when you actually look at the situation that happened, he is the one that provoked it. So I look at people like Billboard Chris, who is an obvious fucking grifter. Just obvious. Based on his background alone. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then I look at Jordan Peterson and I'm like, did Jordan Peterson literally just ride this wave? Was any of it ever real? Did he ever care about helping young men? Because if he ever really cared about helping young men, he seemed to turn against them very, very, very easily in the past couple years. Jordan Peterson seemed to turn against young men as soon as he got signed to the Daily Wire. Why is that? Could it be that all of a sudden he was touring around before that, and I think he expanded his audience beyond young men. But like, listen, if you like, okay, so Jordan Peterson got famous for helping young men, and then he expanded his audience far beyond that, did world tours and all that stuff, had more people in his audience. But if you actually care about the initial thing, if you actually care about helping young men, wouldn't that be something that you continue to focus on and continue to do? Like, again, I'll just equate it back to me because I know my story better than anyone else. I have from the beginning, I never wanted to be on the internet, but I said, I'm going to do this internet thing because I'm deeply concerned about what the left is doing in this country. And literally every arc of my story from the very beginning has been, how do we fight back against the left? How do we fight back against the left? How do we learn about as much about the left as possible? What is the left doing? What is the left talking about? What are they thinking? Like, literally, people like to say about me, they're like, you just change your mind all the time. No, I don't. I'm actually incredibly consistent. I'm one of the most consistent bitches on the internet. Everything I have ever done since any of you have ever known who I was on the internet has been about fighting the left, first and foremost, above everything else. No matter what happened, that was the common thread because that's actually what I care about. So if Jordan Peterson actually cared about helping young men and being a role model for young men, he wouldn't be trying to drag the Groypers constantly. He wouldn't be calling the Groypers the woke right. He wouldn't be calling them psychopaths. He wouldn't be doing any of these things. He would be trying to minister to these young men. Jordan Peterson had like this built-in audience of people that he can minister to try to say, hey, if I think that what you're doing is really bad with all this Groyper stuff, and here's why, and here's a better way. Instead, what does he do? He demonizes them. He dehumanizes them. He calls them rats. He goes after Nick constantly. He does this whole fucking paper, this fake research study that was funded by Israel, where the conclusion is you are a psychopath if you're saying Christ is king. Did he ever care about helping young men in the first place? Because if he did, then why has he turned completely against them? And OPS, he seems to have a financial interest to turn against them, doesn't he? Just like he had a financial interest to quote unquote help them the first time. So could it be that Jordan Peterson just saw a hole in the market and said, I can do this? And because no one else was doing that at the time, because it is a small world and there aren't as many people doing this stuff as people think, did Jordan Peterson just claim that territory and it was never about actually helping young men? He just saw an opportunity for himself at that time to get famous and to make a ton of money? And to be more well-known than he could ever be being a professor at some Canadian university that no one's ever heard of? Could that be? In retrospect, you look at things differently, don't you?
Broke down in tears. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice, he said, in tears. A lot going on, of course, with regard to this exchange, and aspects of it I'm going to leave for another occasion.
Hang on. I missed Murphy's Pool's super chat. Thank you, Murphy's Pool. I accidentally swallowed some Scrabble tiles. I'm experiencing constant vowel movements. The next one could spell disaster. Well, thank you, Murphy's Pool. I hope you're having a good Friday night.
Here, I'm focusing on the issue of Harry's wife. The fact, of course, that she spoke out against Dr. Peterson has caused him to respond to that and point out, in his usual way, of identifying that he sees her behavior as problematic. And he particularly nails it by identifying the falsehood by which she functions and operates, along with the sanctimonious false compassion whereby she talks down to her audience. Doubtless, she'll be made
You're
aware
drinking sake? I was thinking about getting sake today. I love sake.
of this riposte that has come back from him, which, as you know from my work, is challenge fuel. She will not like it. She will not like the fact that both Piers Morgan
Challenge
and
fuel,
Dr.
that's what it
Peterson
was.
appear to have buddied up in a pincer movement on her. Naturally, Piers Morgan is painted black as a consequence of her disengagement from him many years ago. And irrespective of those who unjustifiably say that he's obsessed with her, he's not. It's simply the fact that he, as a different type of narcissist, always has to respond when she comes up on the radar, and
Wait.
she does.
Piers Morgan is a narcissist? I didn't know he reviewed Piers Morgan. He definitely has to do Jordan Peterson then. He has to. Piers Morgan is kind of an asshole. Like, yeah, I'm not going to say anything more about it. I just don't like Piers Morgan, like, at all.
She does come up on the radar again and again and again. Piers Morgan is a broadcaster and journalist. Therefore, what she does, unfortunately, is newsworthy because a lot of people are interested in what she's doing. And as a consequence of that, it comes upon his back, across his bows as a broadcaster and journalist. And thus, there's narc and narc action. When she appears on his radar, his narcissism asks, is she under control? The fact is, she's not, because he has no information that confirms he has control of her, and therefore his subconscious narcissism directs him to assert control. He doesn't do it directly because he no longer communicates with her, either, and most likely because he doesn't have the means of doing so, or possibly that his own narcissism guides him not to go down that route. And instead, he smears her. Albeit he does it in a way of using information which is correct about her, layered, of course, with some ad hominem element also, for good measure.
So exactly what Jordan Peterson did. So what Piers Morgan did to Meghan Markle, what HGTutor just described, is kind of exactly what Jordan Peterson did?
After all, he is a provocative individual. That's how he makes his living. Therefore, he's not obsessed with her. Those that are uninitiated in understanding narcissism will believe that he is, but he's not. The fact is, the ubiquity of Harry's wife, driven by two factors. One, her need to assert control over people and her thirst for fuel. Also, the fact that she, unfortunately, is someone that gets so many clicks in terms of advertising, etc., that many, many outlets will keep talking about her. And this means that you can't get through the day without her popping up somewhere. And when you work in the field of journalism, as Piers Morgan does, she's going to keep popping up on his radar. Therefore, his narcissism is going to cause him to react to it. And it does again. He's not going to miss the opportunity to stick it to her, and does so in discussion with Dr. Peterson. Dr. Peterson similarly isn't going to let her attack upon him lie, and responds, again, utilizing the truth to determine what she is.
He knows.
But once again, we have a situation that prominent people keep talking out about her. If you roll back a few years, there were people that didn't like her, but it was mainly occurring in social media. There wasn't as many prominent people reporting about it. But now, with, of course, what Tom Bauer found out, what Valentine Lowe has reported in his book, and, of course, more and more journalists coming to the fore, calling out her behaviors because there's more to see, and as a consequence of safety in numbers, if you will, more and more people are calling her out. Previously, amongst famous people, it was really only Piers Morgan that led the battle charge, as he did on his Good Morning Britain programme, and we all know how that turned out. But latterly, there are more people that, if you like, are rallying to the cause. Megyn Kelly, the journalist Simon McCoy. There are other commentators. You see, for instance, in much of the broadsheet newspapers in the United Kingdom, they regularly mock her. The Australians have done so for quite a long period of time also, failing to take her seriously at all. And therefore, more and more prominent broadcasters, commentators, opinion makers have identified that her behavior is both unsavory and quite ridiculous. And it builds up, creating more and more problems for her. And the latest individual, also with due cause, of course, because of the way she spoke about him, was Jordan Peterson. I'm HGTutor.
All right. So not as much about Jordan Peterson as I maybe would have hoped for. But that's all right. That's all right, because I really hopes. I cannot speak today. It's been such a long day. You guys don't even know. I'm so tired. But like, I really hope that HGTutor takes advantage of this opportunity to diagnose Jordan Peterson for the obvious narcissist that he is. I think it would make an excellent series where he can analyze Jordan Peterson. I think there is a wealth of information out there about Jordan Peterson. And I think that, again, I think really all HGTutor has to do is to just start here. Maybe he can go a little bit earlier. There was stuff that happened before this. But I think if HGTutor just like starts here with the Jordan Peterson meltdown about Nick Fuentes, and specifically if HGTutor mentions Nick Fuentes or has Nick Fuentes on the screen, he doesn't have to like Nick Fuentes. He doesn't have to take his side or anything. But I think if he just mentions him and the fact that Jordan Peterson wrote multiple pieces of poetry about him and calling him a rat, and this was Jordan Peterson's descent into the whole everyone who says Christ is king is a psychopath thing that he's doing now, I really think that HGTutor would have a lot of fodder, and I think the Groypers would all share it on Twitter, and I think that all of these big name accounts like Elijah Schaefer and Jake Shields and all of Nick's friends would share it. I mean, if Nick was talked about positively, Nick himself would maybe even share it. I don't know. Nick would be pretty excited to have Jordan Peterson diagnosed as a narcissist in relation to Nick, and Nick not being diagnosed as a narcissist because he's, well, not. All right. So I hope that happens. I hope we manifest that. We need to move on, but a little bird told me, that little bird being Stony Baloney, a little bird told me that Tim Pool was shit-talking James Lindsay tonight. And so before we go to our final finale, which is going to be Sargon's video making fun of James Lindsay and Jordan Peterson, I want to just tune into what Tim said tonight to hear him shit-talk James Lindsay. And I think I've got it queued up to about the right point. Maybe it happens a little bit after this. But I think Stony Baloney said like an hour 38. Okay. Hour 38. So let's, this is hour 32. Let's maybe fast forward a little bit. We still want to know exactly what he's talking about though. So I'll start there.
Katie Hobbs got denied. Only legal citizens can vote in AZ elections now if we can get rid of her. Interesting.
That's the way it should be.
Indeed. Let's see. What have we here? YouTube's on the fritz. That was a Rumble rant. All right. Papa Khan says, can we get thoughts and prayers for the 2 corrections officers stabbed by an Arizona man? One officer was stabbed 12 times in the chest. The guy was here illegally and was already convicted of murder. Wow.
So we have an Arizona man hoax now.
They keep doing that.
I wouldn't be surprised if like one of these comic book companies makes a superhero called the Maryland Man.
Talk to Seamus. He can do it.
All right. Evan for US says, seems like I caused quite a storm inadvertently. The other day, Jeremy even made a video and he seemed kind of upset, especially at Elad. I'm sorry, y'all. Excuse me. Maybe I misspoke. He says, I was probably at least a little correct, but still, I probably didn't say what I heard and or saw correctly. Yeah, I guess Jeremy Hambley, the quarterback's mad that Elad insulted him.
Well, Elad was like actually like, he seemed like he was mad. Like he was PO'd about what Jeremy said. I mean, Jeremy was just a little bit like
people watch this.
He was doing a little poke the, a little exaggeration, but
yeah, I spoke to a lot later. It seems like they both misunderstood each other. So
okay.
I don't think it's so serious, but
good.
Who knows? I don't know. I don't pay attention like this. So.
All right. Semi Farming says, any thoughts on who is doing the DDoS attack on Rumble? No idea.
Did
this
the
is
stream
so
start
boring.
fine for you tonight?
Yeah, we had no problems.
We had said to like we had to run it through like 2 or 3 times to get it to work, but we were able to get it up on time for today's show.
Rumble has been under attack all day. Yep. Let's see. Barry and McGrowan says, Tim, it's simple. People don't hang out with people that don't align with their beliefs for fun. People don't vote for people that don't align with their beliefs. Trump won. Yes.
This is so boring.
Doctor says, James Lindsay is not only woke, but he's not even a classical liberal. He's actually a secular liberal.
True.
You can't be an atheist and a classical liberal because natural law and rights are derived from God. He's a revisionist.
True.
This is, James Lindsay's become so pathetic and desperate that he's destroyed what brand he had. Because I think he's trying desperately to get back in with the left. So what he's done is he started attacking anyone on the right as woke right, which makes literally no sense because Dave Smith and Candace Owens don't align on anything. That's not fair, but they largely are completely different worldviews.
That's
The only
not
thing
entirely
overlapping is
true.
criticism of Israel, but Dave Smith's Jewish himself. So it's like this weird thing that James Lindsay's done. There was a tweet, which I think why Dr. Doctor is super chatting, but it's let me see if I can pull it up. There's a good example of, for those that aren't familiar, James Lindsay was at one point a prominent liberal personality calling out woke stuff, but now he's literally just woke. And I'll explain why.
Because we broke him.
So
We did this.
Mike Cernovich.
We get no credit.
He said someone tweeted, "No one would be upset if Kanye."
I just want to point out for people who don't know, my community worked for a year and a half to drive James to this level of insanity, and we never get any credit for it. We were haranguing James all over the place. We were following him around to streams. We were making memes about him. We were making sure that we had our voices heard in his head rent free at all times for a year and a half before any of you assholes even noticed something was wrong. Because James has lost his fucking mind, and he lost it a long time ago. And everything he was teaching people about the left was wrong and unhinged from reality. And we know that because we watch the left all the time. And we drove him insane, and I never get any credit for it. And it's awful. And, everyone's like, James Lindsay just went crazy one day. No, James Lindsay did not go crazy one day. It was a team effort for a year and a half before you assholes even showed up. Yeah, when that was actually the moment, because the reason I went to AFPAC was because James Lindsay was crying about me on Twitter. And so I was like, he wants to cry about me on Twitter. I'll give him something to cry about. I'm going to Nick Fuentes' event as a VIP. Let's watch what happens now.
He had released a song called Hail Satan, and I can't stop thinking about that. And this is in response to Kanye West putting out, the song that he did.
The amazing song that he did.
Lindsay criticized him, saying he's sanitizing evil, which is like, what? He's criticizing the left for being evil. And another individual responded that Cernovich is correct. If Kanye or anybody else put out a song called like Black, I'm just going to read it. Black Pussy Stank, the media and the mainstream would have no problem with it. They'd cheer it on.
Doesn't have quite the same ring as WAP, but yeah.
Well, but this is the point. James Lindsay is arguing then, and this is where I'm saying, like, this dude has fallen off and become desperate and is literally doing what woke people do. He says, wrong. How have you forgotten that this Sam Smith BS from 2 years ago when Sam Smith dressed up like Satan and did body shop with the trans person? And it's just,
what?
Yes, he was celebrated on the Grammys.
Yeah.
They cheered for him. It was accepted. The Grammys also had WAP. They celebrated this. Kanye West is blacklisted because he did a Nazi song. This is the point Cernovich is making. You're allowed to hail Satan, but not Hitler. We understand Hitler is bad.
True.
Satan is also bad. So my point is, I saw that, and it's another grain of sand in the heap. And I think also Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee
also lost his mind.
Are trying to push this narrative of a woke right, which literally does not make sense.
True.
They may as well say alt-right. They're saying anyone who is outside of our Overton window is woke right.
Yep.
That's why they've lumped Aaron McIntyre with Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and Dave Smith.
They couldn't.
Aaron McIntyre is so boring and dumb. I cannot. I don't know what. I don't understand the appeal of that guy at all. So boring. So behind everything. Not intellectually honest either. All the people. I think Candace Owens is intellectually honest. I do not think that Dave Smith is intellectually honest. Aaron McIntyre, definitely not intellectually honest. I don't even remember what point I was going to make when I paused the video just then. Don't even remember. Okay, let's just continue.
Be more different.
And I'm like, what? These people are all different.
Right. Well, I think, look, I know James, he's a friend of
No. This is the point I was going to make. James Lindsay's definition of woke right is that you are not a classical liberal and you don't support Israel. So Tim, again, because Tim doesn't actually listen to what people say, we've watched James Lindsay talk about this many times on my show. James Lindsay's literal definition of the woke right is that you are not a classical liberal and you do not support Israel. That's the definition. And so what do Arun McIntyre, who is intellectually dishonest and boring, and Dave Smith, who is less boring but also intellectually dishonest, and Candace Owens, who actually I think has more intellectual integrity than any of them, what do all three of them have in common? They're not classical liberals and they don't support Israel. That's what they have in common. And James has said this. He said it on the Trigonometry podcast in so many words. That is what the definition is. And James Lindsay is using Marcuse's tactic of repressive tolerance, which Tim would know had he actually paid attention, but he doesn't. He is using Marcuse's tactic of repressive tolerance, which he knows better than most people, in order to demonize people that disagree with Israel and that aren't classical liberals. He uses woke tactics all the time. James right now on Twitter, or I saw this earlier today, is advocating for changing language as a weapon against people. That is what the left does. James Lindsay submitted this paper that he rewrote 90% of to this magazine he doesn't like, and then said they literally published the Communist Manifesto when James Lindsay lied and rewrote 90% of it. That's a very woke tactic to do. So James is basically doing woke tactic after woke tactic after woke tactic after woke tactic after woke tactic, and he's using it to call everyone who doesn't support Israel and is not a classical liberal woke. James has said many times that conservatism is extreme. He made a whole fucking meme about it. He made a meme about how conservatism was extreme and the only way to be normal was to be a classical liberal.
Mine, I really like him, but I hate what he's doing here.
Only idiots like James.
I forget which outlet had it, but the left is already using this woke right in their headlines to attack us. And
because of James. That Atlantic article is because of James. And I don't agree with Tim's position that James is shilling for the left. I don't think James likes the left either, but I also don't think James understands the left nearly as well as everyone thinks he does. And again, I say that because we actually do understand the left and James has no fucking idea what he's talking about. No, I think James is doing this because Israel funds his work. Provably. I wrote about this on my Substack, on the article that I wrote where I broke down how James Lindsay is using repressive tolerance. Literally, Michael O'Fallon is the man that funds James Lindsay's website. Michael O'Fallon, by the way, has been really pissed off about the new pope. I can't imagine why. It's not like James and Michael O'Fallon attack Christians and Catholics specifically, like all the effing time. Michael O'Fallon is funded by Israel. Michael O'Fallon has posted on Twitter multiple times about having meetings with the Israeli government. James Lindsay is funded by Michael O'Fallon. Michael O'Fallon is a dispensationalist. Exactly. So the reason that James Lindsay is pushing all of this woke right bullshit is because he has a financial interest in supporting Israel, and he has a financial interest in attacking anyone who doesn't support Israel. And then the classical liberal thing is just like an extra add-on, but really the crux to this problem is Israel.
In just a few short years, when anyone hears the word woke in the media, it's going to be used against the right. It's never going to be used against the left.
This is what James Lindsay is trying to do. That's why he started this. And I believe it's because at some point
he lost his mind.
Trump is going to lose.
No.
And he doesn't want to be on the wrong side of history.
Not what happened.
This is what woke generally is. The core component, I describe woke as cult-like adherence to liberal social orthodoxy. And the reason I do
cult-like adherence to liberal social orthodoxy. Are liberals and socialists the same thing? One in the chat, if liberals and socialists are the same thing. Two in the chat, if liberals and socialists are not the same thing. I'm not even going to say what I want to say. One in the chat if liberals and socialists are the same thing. Two in the chat if liberals and socialists are not the same thing. Two. Yup. Two. Is my audience smarter than Tim Pool? Yeah. Yep. Yep. My audience is smarter than Tim Pool. It's true. Liberals and socialists aren't the same thing, Tim. And you should know that, because aren't you the professional journalist? Aren't you the big time journalist, Tim? Shouldn't you know that there is a difference between liberals and leftists? Shouldn't you know that by now? You've been covering this way fucking longer than me, bro. Where is your head at when it comes to this? Because you certainly don't know what you're talking about on this topic, and I don't know what else you've been covering. Okay, this is why I haven't watched Tim's show in years, because I end up yelling half the time over all the things that Tim doesn't know that he should know if he was doing his one and only job, which is to comment on what is going on in the world.
It makes no sense to be anti-war, anti-military industrial complex, and pro-Ukraine war. It makes no, their positions are incoherent. 2 + 2 = 5. They all know that makes no sense, but they will rationalize it in any means possible to adhere to their cult. James Lindsay attacking the right of various different political right-wing factions, not even necessarily right-wing necessarily.
Seriously? Kim Iverson said that Tim's employees are all Zionists who forbid her from discussing Israel on the podcast. I know we are all shocked by this revelation that Tim is a complete and total sellout to Israel. I know this is shocking. And Tim would say, I'm on YouTube and I would get demonetized. But why would you get demonetized for someone just mentioning another country, Tim? I talk about Israel. I don't get demonetized. I know I'm not as big as the illustrious Tim Pool. I really do get that. But I'm pretty sure you can actually talk about Israel and not get demonetized. Kim Iverson isn't a hateful person. Kim Iverson's never been a hateful person. She's a very nice woman. Why would she say anything hateful? I don't think she would say anything hateful.
Libertarian makes no sense, except for he's trying to be on the outs with the Trump MAGA coalition so that he can eventually find his way back into doing podcasts with leftists and liberals because he's scared Trump will lose and he wants to have a career in the future.
Well, I would say that I've read a lot of these forums on woke right, and I think at the heart of it, these are people that believe that all of our laws should not make. They believe that none of our laws should make values judgments. That they should all be neutral. So the disagreement is, I think that our laws should distinguish between good and evil. That is the point of it.
Who is this person, and why is this person talking about things they know nothing about? Does anyone know who this is? Because this person has no, I'm sorry, you seem like a nice guy. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
You should not treat evil equally with good, because evil will crowd out all the good and there won't be any more good.
There's no definition of woke right.
There is a definition of woke right. James Lindsay gave the definition of woke right on the Trigonometry podcast. The definition of woke right is you don't support Israel and you're not a classical liberal. James said this explicitly on that podcast. James has tweeted about this multiple times. Why does no one fucking listen to me? We literally covered this when it happened months ago, Tim. I'm not the illustrious beanie wearing Tim Pool, so you know. Whatever. My audience is always ahead of everyone else. It's fine. That is our lot in life. We are always weeks, months, or possibly years ahead of everyone else on the internet. And everyone's like, they're crazy. And then a year from now, when everything that I've said has happened it plays out, they're like, oh yeah, Karlyn was right about that. They never take back the crazy part. Never, ever.
Right. James Lindsay basically made incoherent statements that he claimed were coherent, and he's got followers who think he's telling the truth and he's not.
True.
Let me stress again, like Oren McIntyre, I guess what would you describe him
intellectually
as? Intellectually
dishonest asshole.
Smart dude too.
No, he's not that smart.
Right. I don't understand how he overlaps with Nick Fuentes. And when James Lindsay was asked who's an example of woke right, he said Oren McIntyre. And I said, yeah, that guy is.
Also, the other definition that James has of woke right is people he doesn't like. So Oren McIntyre, who is an intellectually dishonest asshole, James Lindsay doesn't like him. Therefore, he is woke right. Dave Smith, James Lindsay doesn't like him. Therefore, he is woke right. Candace Owens, James Lindsay doesn't like him. Therefore, he is woke right. Tucker Carlson, James Lindsay's pissed off that Tucker Carlson didn't have him on his show. Therefore, he is woke right. James is probably the actual narcissist in this situation, honestly. Like, I've really thought that. And I know James Lindsay's stepdaughter for real. I've talked with her quite a bit. What she describes to me, like in person, it does actually sound like James is actually a narcissist, which is why, of course, he calls everyone else a narcissist. He smears anyone that disagrees with him. He has these massive fuck off, hissy fit meltdowns about everyone at every opportunity. So that's what they all have in common. They don't support Israel. They're not classical liberals, and James doesn't like them. Wait, what? When did that happen? James Lindsay must really not like Arun because he quote tweeted his live stream and called him Karlyn 2.0. See, again, at least James acknowledges that I was first. I was the one calling James on his bullshit. I didn't see it in the DMs. Oh shit. That was in the DMs I didn't see it. I must have been not paying attention because I had my very spiritual Kundalini experience the other day and it kind of made me trip out. And I didn't really want to be on social media because I was feeling all the energy from activating the Kundalini accidentally in a ritual that AI gave me. See, at least James acknowledges that I was the true one that drove him insane. At least James acknowledges I was first ahead of everyone else on calling him on his bullshit a year and a half before Arun McIntyre knew what was going on. James knows if no one else knows. Chris Rufo got James banned from the White House. Did that actually happen? Did Rufo actually get James banned from the White House, or are you just making that up? Because I've been like, Chris Rufo is annoying the shit out of me lately. Just because he's gotten so fucking corporate in everything that he says. It's like, there's not an authentic thing coming out of that guy's mouth at this point. It's just like stage talking point, stage talking point, stage talking point. So inauthentic, so shilly, so fucking grimy. And it makes me sad too, because again, like I really appreciate a lot of the work Rufo has done. I don't want to shit on the guy, but like he's really annoying me lately. Yeah. I was number one. Everyone else came after me. Everyone remember that. Oh, Reagan's got it. Hang on. Copy link. Hang on. Let's see what this says. James was talking about me. I haven't even talked about James in a while. Yes, leave YouTube, please. There it is. What was this post? The kids are woke, right? See? Still living in James Lindsay's head, rent-free, forever. Hang on. Let's play the clip. Real quick. James, this is for you. This is for you right here, James. Ready?
We're going to war against James Lindsay. You keep James Lindsay up at night. I got to come and visit you in his head where you live rent-free. I got to come and visit Karlyn. Knock, knock. We're inside James Lindsay's brain. We're inside Chris Rufo and James Lindsay's brain where she has taken up a residence there permanently. And she's performing. She's doing shows there. She got a 10-year contract to do her talk show. No, but thank you very much. You're right. The left is going to come back pretty hard. Empire Strikes Back again.
See, Nick recognized. Nick knows. Nick knows. Yeah, congrats to me for living rent-free in James's head since 2022. I was the first. Everyone came after me. Well, you know what's funny is when Arun McIntyre started actually talking about James years after I was talking about James, I actually did reach out to him because he and I had a run-in a couple years ago where he insulted me on Twitter and then he wouldn't listen to me when I was correcting him on something he was wrong about. And so then he blocked me and he kept insulting me on Twitter. And so then I posted an article on my Substack that said Arun McIntyre deserves to have his kids transed. And what the article said was, And some may say that was a bit extreme, but what the article actually said was, if Arun McIntyre wasn't actually going to cover things that were relevant that parents needed to know, then he and his offspring should suffer the fate that he is wishing on to other parents because he's not correctly informing them. And quite frankly, I don't just feel this way about Arun McIntyre. I feel this way about everyone in conservative media who doesn't actually cover things that they should be covering. It's like, bro, there's so much bullshit going on in the world that you guys know about. You're told about it. I give you the clips of this happening, and then you act surprised a year later when everything gets really fucked up and it all starts to go to hell. I tried to tell you about this a year ago, and you made fun of me. You insulted me. You blocked me on Twitter for trying to show you what was going on. You wouldn't fucking listen. And so if you're going to be an intellectually dishonest douchebag, then maybe you should suffer the fate that you are wishing on to everyone else by not properly informing them of what was going on. So do I actually want Arun McIntyre's kids to be trans? Of course not. That wasn't what the article said, though. So when I reached out to him, like, what was it, a year and a half after that or something, I sent him a very nice note where I said, you know what, on this issue, maybe we can play nicely together. Maybe it's an opportunity. Now, Arun McIntyre, my understanding was that he was a Christian, and therefore you would think he would be forgiving. But because he's an intellectually dishonest shill, he said, I can't possibly be seen with you because of what you said. And I said, oh, so you're an intellectually dishonest shill. Got it. So no, I will not do a live stream with him. Even if he came to me today, the answer would be no. Because once someone shows me they're intellectually dishonest, I want nothing to do with you. I have dealt with enough people in this space that I'm just honestly not interested. I'm perfectly fine being on my own. I'm perfectly fine being under the radar. I'm perfectly fine not being quote unquote relevant. And I don't think it would be hilarious because I genuinely do not like him. I have never liked his content. I don't think he's smart. I think he's way behind me. I would not be able to hide my disdain. I would come off looking like a massive bitch. He would come off looking like the poor victim because he is much, 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 much weaker than me. And if someone is weaker than me and I can't hide that I don't like them, it's just not going to go well for me because of reasons. So no, I appreciate the suggestion, but I respectfully pass. Let's go back to Tim. Oh, you guys can't hear that. Hang on. One sec. Sound fell out.
Yeah. Smart dude, too.
Right. I don't understand how he overlaps with Nick Fuentes. And when James Lindsay was asked who's an example of woke right, he said Arun McIntyre. And I said, yeah, that guy is like got nothing in common with Nick Fuentes.
Nothing.
So, but what was the attack then? Go back 7 years. What the liberal institutions were doing, the universities, was labeling everybody outside of their Overton window, including libertarians, alt-right. Then, after they created the phrase alt-right, they morphed it into white nationalist.
Right.
The strategy was, and there was a dude I knew, not a political, he was a comedian. And when they started the alt-right smears, labeling anybody alt-right, this dude saw some libertarian guy, probably Dave Smith, and he thought, well, I agree with libertarians, so I must be alt-right too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember one day he said, I was talking to him, he's a comedian. And then I was like, well, where do you fall on the political spectrum? He said he was alt-right. And I was like, for real? And I was like, white nationalist? Like, and he was like, no.
Did I watch Nick's take? No, Nick did a takedown of him? I'll totally watch that if you send it to me.
Oh, no. Just like, like libertarian, Ron Paul. And I said,
well, that was the
you
thing
see what the media did.
Yeah.
Now James Lindsay is doing that because he's a scumbag. He is trying to create a term to attach it to various different groups of people. Once they do, they're then in the press is going to take it, like you said, they're going to start using woke right, redefining it so that anybody who's ever been labeled that will fall under a different umbrella.
Right.
Likely going to be anti-Semite, white nationalist. This is the same playbook they used before. Why is James Lindsay doing it? He claims he sacrificed his tribe. What actually happened is he became irrelevant. And when you're ousted from the liberal factions of universities and can't get a job because you've called them out for their lies, the only work you're going to find is on the other side. The problem is his body of work is no longer relevant. He did the Circle Square hoax. He's no longer relevant in the space. So he can't get an in with the right. He gets mocked over the golden Trump statue, whatever happened with that. So he's got nothing. So he goes, I need to get back in with the university. It's the only career path I have for making money.
That is not what is happening at all, Tim. That is a completely incorrect analysis. All right, we have that video of Nick taking. We'll watch that Nick video next. No, Tim, that is completely wrong. There is no universe in which James is trying to get a job at a university. The reason that we know that James is not trying to get a job at a university is James has literally never been a mathematician, which is what his PhD is actually in. So James went from being a PhD graduate with a mathematics degree to being a massage therapist to writing hoax grievance studies papers to accidentally getting famous for that to lecturing about the left. There's no university job that James is getting. And quite frankly, I don't even think James wants it. James is shilling for Israel to get speaking gigs through Michael O'Fallon and all of his dispensationalist Christian organizations and friends all over the country. That is what he's doing. James is funded by Israel. It's nothing to do with leftist, nothing. Has to do with Israel.
And surviving. Also, he has like a stepdaughter who was attacking him over this stuff. It seems like there were family issues.
Yes.
Career issues. And so he goes,
there were.
I'll just attack everybody on the right as woke right, putting me at odds with Trump and his base. I will then publicly declare that I've sacrificed my tribe. Watch, in a 6 months to a year, he'll be on a bunch of liberal podcasts. He'll be on Midas Touch, and he'll be talking about how the right has gone woke and adopted things that are bad. And, he should have seen it coming. There you go. Let's read more.
All right. So that is Tim's position on that. Now, breaking news. So for those of you who caught my stream about Mike Harlow, who is Brandon Strzok's best friend yesterday, who is continuing to act like an unhinged retard, I just want to give everyone a breaking news update that Mike Harlow is continuing to definitely not harass me on the internet, because I did post my response to him after he wrote a 5-page essay about me on the internet, talking about how he definitely wasn't harassing me on the internet, with screenshots that he's been collecting for years where he definitely wasn't harassing me on the internet. So bringing out everything that they've tried to take and twist out of context, the same story that they've been shilling for years and years and years and years and years. I posted the video to Twitter earlier today. It was on the stream I did called Let's Talk the other day. If you want to go back and see the whole thing, just an update though. In responding to the video that I posted on Twitter, Mike Harlow says, "Oh, Karlyn, I've never called you a grifter. That's such a meaningless, reductive slogan. I've called you a sociopathic, abuser, stalker, con artist, pathological liar, sexual predator, pedophile enabler, and a future diabetes patient, but never a grifter." So that is Brandon Strzok's best friend. And that is why Walkaway is currently failing, because this is the spokesperson for Walkaway. And if you guys want to know why Walkaway and Brandon Strzok never actually get people to leave the left, it's this garbage human being right here. But you know what? We're not going to talk about him because he's really not that interesting and he doesn't do anything of value and he certainly doesn't create content for anyone. So let's watch this video of Nick. We're going all over the place. We are going to do the Sargon video. The Sargon video is coming next, all right? So we're just doing a warm-up act right now. Sargon is coming up. Let's make sure I have the sound set up. There we go. There we go. I just don't, Brooks, I just don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore. I appreciate it. I'd like to crowdfund different things, though. I just don't care anymore. All right, let's listen to what Nick had to say about Arun McIntyre. His man boobs are barely concealed by his frame. We can't be listening to... Oh, my God. I love Nick. I love him so much. I love him.
First of all, can we just, right out of the gate, I would never listen to someone that looks like this. Oh, wait, hang on a second. There we go. Okay. First of all, before we even get started, I was just going to say, I would never listen to someone who looks like this Okay. Conservatives love to talk about like soy boys, and I don't usually do that. I'm not a super macho guy myself. I think I'm pretty masculine. I'm a little flamboyant though, but I don't think I'm like a macho dude, right? But they talk about soy boys, and then we get a literal neck beard. This guy's a literal mystery meat neck beard with these glasses and an Iron Maiden t-shirt. He's barely got his nipples. His man boobs are barely concealed by the frame here. His man boobs are barely contained in his Iron Maiden graphic t-shirt. Guys, we can't be listening to people like this. Also, both of their backgrounds, we got the brick wall background with the Misfits poster. This Gen X thing, it's just got to stop. We just got to stop. We can't be doing the salt and pepper.
So
punk,
true.
You know, heavy metal.
Who would ever do that?
Posters. I'm in an Iron Maiden t-shirt. I'm in my grunge basement. We just can't be doing this anymore. Okay. Anyway, if you want to be taken seriously, that is. Anyway, so we're maybe 30 pounds overweight. We got these stupid glasses, neck beard, Iron Maiden t-shirt already. I mean, you lost me already.
All right, Nick. All right. Like, what did I say? He's always been precocious. All right, we're done with Tim. Let's go to Sargon. I know everyone's been waiting for this one. All right. Well, who in the chat watched the Jordan Peterson, James Lindsay interview? 1 in the chat if you did watch the Jordan Peterson, James Lindsay interview. 2 in the chat if you did not. We watched the whole thing on my channel. It was so difficult to get through. It was like, I could not believe that Jordan Peterson and James Lindsay thought this interview was a good idea. I really couldn't believe it. It was bad. If you guys haven't seen it, you can watch my coverage of it if you want. You can just go watch it yourself, whatever. But I have to think that it's easier to watch this with people, because basically what you were seeing in this interview, and this is part of why I really want HGTutor to diagnose Jordan Peterson. It would be great if we could get him to do James Lindsay too. That would be awesome. But I don't think he would do James Lindsay. I don't think James Lindsay is famous enough for him. Jordan Peterson is famous enough for him. What this stream was 2 people having a therapy session with each other, because both of them have completely pissed off their audience on Twitter, and both of them are completely incapable of dealing with mean replies on their tweets. And both of them read every single reply that they get. And if you say anything that is even questioning them in any way, you get blocked. And then both of them get really pissed off at all the mean replies they get. And both of them frame their entire worldview around the mean replies they get on Twitter. And they can't handle it. And they both had nervous breakdowns about it, because they're both addicted to social media and it's gotten really bad. And so they decided to come together to have a therapy session with each other. And I think what Sargon is going to comment on here is the fact that James Lindsay said something like, Jordan Peterson was talking about Lucifer. And he said that Lucifer's kind of like nickname or moniker was the Morning Star. And James Lindsay, when Jordan Peterson said that Lucifer was the Morning Star, James Lindsay responded, well, Jordan, what do you do in the morning? You wake up. That means you're woke. And so James Lindsay was trying to say that being woke was satanic because Lucifer's name is the Morning Star, and in the morning we wake up, and therefore we are woke and satanic and Luciferian. And so I think that's what Sargon's commenting on here. And I have heard that James was pretty pissed off about this clip from Sargon, because he seemed to be talking about it an awful lot. I didn't really look at what he was saying exactly, because again, I accidentally activated the Kundalini this week, man. It's been a weird week for me. People don't know what it is. You can look that up. And so I really have been trying to stay off social media a lot this week, because I'm feeling energy. I know this is woo, but I'm feeling energy much more strongly now than I normally do, because I fucking accidentally activated the Kundalini. And so I don't really know exactly what James was talking about or any of that, but I know that he was pretty pissed off. And so let's watch this video and we can see what happened. Yes, I accidentally activated the Kundalini. It was an accident. I didn't mean to. I was tricked into it by a ritual. And it was pretty great, I'm telling you. And I've since, side note, I have since replicated activating the Kundalini. So I did the ritual again and it activated again. So now I know how to activate the Kundalini like when I want to, which is pretty cool, actually. And I feel really great, but I also got very psychic. So anyway, enough weird talk from me. Let's listen to this video.
So recently, James Lindsay did a podcast with Jordan Peterson, and I watched about 2/3 of it. I just haven't had time to watch the rest of it. And it's not terribly impressive, and I can see why people have just taken to mocking this. However, people are definitely underestimating what James Lindsay is attempting to do here, because people think that he's stupid. However, James Lindsay is not stupid. He is just in the unenviable position of desperately playing a rearguard action in defense of liberalism, and this leads him into ridiculous positions in which he is forced to do things that are essentially kind of deceptive. Because I actually think that the standout clip from this is James Lindsay trying to manipulate Jordan Peterson and the conservative Christian movement in the United States. There's no secret that James Lindsay is deeply against Christian nationalism because he sees it as being an anti-liberal movement. And
no, James is against all Christianity, but James loves Christian moms because they bang him at his events because James forced his wife to be in an open marriage she didn't want to be in so that he could go bang his Christian mom groupies at their events. So James is not a Christian or a Catholic in any way. James hates Christians. He hates Catholics. He drags them literally all the time. He just likes making money off of Christians and fucking the wine moms, basically. And so we all think that James is about to convert officially to Christianity just to grift off them harder, because over Easter, James made some sort of like podcast where he said he was James said he was open to exploring Christianity, essentially. So what we think is happening is James is going to do a fake conversion to Christianity because he wants to continue to make money off of the wine moms as he bangs them at his events.
he wants liberalism. And so he has struck on a tactic here. And this is what this is. It is a stratagem that he is trying to use
James isn't that
in order
smart.
to prevent the rise of what he calls the woke right. And he's been anything but shy about saying all of this. And there's a kind of way of pathologizing the woke right, which I actually really dislike. It may well be true, but the problem with sort of psychologizing and psychoanalyzing the people who join a thing is it doesn't strike at the actual root of the issue. Because often people will glom on to something that has a point, but the reason that they're attracted to it is because of intellectual, emotional character defaults of their own. But it doesn't actually refute the point. And if you're not actually refuting the point, and you can't say why it's wrong, well, why should we not think that it's right? And that's the problem that James has with the woke right. And in fact, that's the problem that liberals generally have with collective movements and collectivism in its entirety. There is an aspect of the human condition that believes in collectivism and recognizes it when it sees it.
I don't know about that.
Responds to it in kind. And the liberal, being the abstracted tradition of the English people, doesn't understand that his own individualism is a form of Anglo-collectivism. It is what the Anglos collectively believe and how they think the world should be structured.
Oh, James is going to love that.
And to push that on to other cultures is itself a form of collectivism and a kind of cultural domination that we don't even see and we don't even understand.
Water.
But other cultures recognize it as ours and see it as being particular to us. Anyway, so this is the particular clip in
Okay, so
question.
I want to talk about this Lucifer idea. So Lucifer is the morning star, and he's the angel of the untrammeled intellect. That's how he's portrayed in Milton, right? And he's allied in some strange way with the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
If I might
Yes.
just interject, if he's the morning star, what do you do in the morning after the morning star rises? You wake up.
Right.
Woke.
Right.
So
Before Sargon says anything, I just want to make sure that people saw what they just saw, because there was a whole bunch of people in the chat who didn't know about this clip because you hadn't watched this yet. You may have thought I was exaggerating, that James said that because Lucifer is called the morning star, and what do you do in the morning? You wake up, and that means woke. You may have thought that I was joking. I was not joking. That is actually what James said. Let's watch it again just so you guys can hear in case you were caught off guard.
in particular to us. Anyway, so this is the particular clip in
Okay, so
question.
I want to talk about this Lucifer idea. So Lucifer is the morning star, and he's the angel of the untrammeled intellect. That's how he's portrayed in Milton, right? And he's allied in some strange way with the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
If I might
Yes.
just interject, if he's the morning star, what do you do in the morning after the morning star rises? You wake up.
Right.
Woke.
All right, let's continue.
Right.
So this is broadly just quite embarrassing for anyone who is involved in these intellectual spheres. And I imagine that Peterson just let it go because it sounds kind of ridiculous. And James Lindsay also knows how ridiculous it is. But what he's doing
Does
here
he,
is
though?
trying to seed the idea
Does he?
that Lucifer was woke. And the thing is, he is right. Lucifer was the original liberal. And this is what Peterson is referring to when he calls him the sort of the fallen angel of the untrammeled intellect, or however it was he characterized him there. What he's saying is, if you are to apply only reason to anything, then you end up in a kind of Luciferian position, because what you're trying to do, at least as Milton describes him, because what you're trying to do is find a rational.
Do we like Sargon? I mean, I've always been rather ambivalent about Sargon. Sargon was very mean to me in 2020 for like no good reason. And it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, but at the same time, I never kind of like really hated him. Like I was kind of ambivalent about the whole thing. I was just like, he just acted very aggressively towards me when he didn't need to be aggressive. And so like now, I mean, I don't hold any sort of thing over him because, you know, whatever. It was like a long ass time ago. Like I honestly don't really care anymore. I would actually like to have a conversation with Sargon about what is actually happening on the left in America, because I think he understands more than most people do. And I would actually really like his perspective, and I would like him to understand more about what's going on than I think he currently understands, which I don't say is a slight to him. There is no one on the internet who understands more about the left than us, honestly. And just because we watch so much of their primary source content, it's just like there is no possible way for anyone to keep up with us because we watch so much of this shit. And so I would actually like to have a conversation with him about it. I don't have any bad feelings towards him. I think that he is very sensible. I think that what I've heard from him over the past several months, I've never really disagreed with any of his takes. I like that he's giving James a lot of shit. And so I guess I lean more on the like side. But I'm kind of neutral. I don't have I would say I lean more on the like side than the dislike. I would say that's true currently.
Grounding for everything. And there are some things that are just not grounded in rationality. And it just happens to be that religion is generally not grounded in rationality. I'm not saying there aren't rational reasons to be religious,
True.
but primarily it is from a sentimental movement from within the heart. It's kind of ironic that James is like, well, Lucifer was the original OG woke person. He was the one who was woke. It's like, yes, because liberalism is itself a woke movement, because to be woke is to have a
Oh.
structural, systematic critique of power dynamics and relations and demand rational justification for them. I agree that
I don't know if I agree with Sargon's definition, but I also don't care enough to argue with it because I understand the point he's making. And so I don't have to agree with his definition.
Lucifer was woke, but so is liberalism itself.
True.
The very nature of what liberalism is a woke movement. And it was entirely predicated on critiquing the unjust power of the king. This
Okay.
irrational,
I understand where he's going
historic,
now.
inherited
All
power
right.
structure was what liberalism was critiquing. And the only difference between liberalism then and wokeism.
Yeah, but like, why are we even continuing? I understand that he's saying woke is critical theory and postmodernism. Okay, I get that. But like, I guess where I'm confused is why are we even still pretending that critical theory and postmodernism is different than Marxism? Why are we pretending that? It's not. It is an offshoot of Marxism. It all comes from Marxism. It all leads back to Marxism. It all goes to the same place. So why aren't we just calling it a spade? Why are we just calling a spade a spade? I think it's very confusing for people to hear woke is critical theory. And I'm not saying you're doing this, Mies, again. I know what you're doing. But like, I think it's very confusing for people to hear woke is postmodernism. Woke is critical theory. Woke is this. Woke is that. Woke is this other thing. And it's just like, why can't we all just kind of get around the idea that woke is Marxism? It is revolutionary socialism. It is a socialism that wants to overthrow our entire system, that believes capitalism caused every problem in this country. Critical theory is sussing out how capitalism caused problems. It's being critical of our systems to suss out. This is a horrible freeze frame for Sargon. I'm doing him dirty, and I don't mean to do him dirty. That's much better. Okay, sorry, Sargon. But like, the whole point of critical theory is to suss out how capitalism is oppressing people across all these different fields. Critical race theory is about sussing out how capitalism oppresses people with race. Gender ideology is about assessing how capitalism oppresses people with gender. Queer theory is about assessing how capitalism oppresses people through normativity. Disability studies is about assessing how capitalism oppresses people through able-bodiedness. Fat studies is about assessing how capitalism oppresses people who are fat. Like, environmental justice is about assessing how capitalism destroys the environment. It all goes back to capitalism, and that means it all goes back to Marxism. So why can't we just fucking say it? Woke is Marxism. Critical theory is Marxism. Postmodernism is Marxism. And I understand that Sargon is more of a philosopher than I am. I come at this from a very highly practical level of like, I only care about what actually happens in the real world. So I understand he might philosophize his way around this to say, well, no, technically critical theory is this and postmodernism is this, and there are different types of... I understand he's going to philosophize his way around this, but in terms of explaining it to average people are not going to be a philosopher. Anyway.
Critiquing, and the only difference between liberalism then and wokeism now is that liberalism is now the power structure that is being critiqued with its own tools. This is no different to what liberalism did with monarchy in the 18th century. And saying, well, look, I happen to like the bourgeois establishment that we have now. Okay, that's great, but there's absolutely nothing that stops the revolution once it's got going. And if you've got a tool that you use to take apart someone else, and that tool can be used to take apart you, well, I mean, I'm just saying I'm a little less sympathetic to that. Anyway, so yeah, James is well aware of what he's trying to do here. He's trying to suggest that being woke is being satanic, and being satanic is being woke right, to make sure the Christians stay on the liberal plantation. They look over the fence.
Yeah,
nope,
okay.
That's where the Satanism is.
Okay, I understand where Sargon was going now. Okay, I agree with his assessment.
When in fact, it is the woke liberals, the original woke liberals, who have them on their plantation from which they're not allowed to leave. And this is what James Lindsay is clumsily doing in this particular part of the interview. And you can say, well, look, I agree with him, and that's fine. You can agree with him. And you can say, look, I disagree with him, and that's fine. You can disagree with him. But the tactic is quite plain, at least to me. And I think that actually
See, and this is why I actually want to talk to Sargon. Because, and by the way, I reached out to them and I never heard back. So don't say, hey, send him an email. He probably would. I have reached out to them. I never heard back. So if it happens, it would have to come from them. I've already tried and I'm not going to try again. I have given it up to God and the universe. If it's meant to happen, it will, all that stuff. But this is why I would actually want to talk to him, because Sargon thinks in terms of like breaking down the tactics people are using. And not everyone thinks like this. And so I think it would actually lead to a very fruitful discussion on what the left is actually doing in America, which also does apply in the UK. I just don't understand the system in his country as well as I understand the system here. So, I mean, it might even be a good, I don't think he would ever actually do it, but like, it would actually be a good conversation to kind of like compare notes. What does he see over in the UK? How does that align with what's going on in the US? Like, what are they doing the same? What are they doing different? I don't know. I think it would be interesting.
There's a much broader and deeper conversation to be had rather than just we need
true.
to maintain the integrity of liberalism, which again, I want to stress, was the original woke movement. It was obviously widely mocked by people online because it is ridiculous, but nobody was really giving an adequate explanation as to why this was so silly. Obviously, it's ridiculous, clownish. But James is prepared to take the slings and arrows as long as later on he can try and say, well, look, if you are woke right, you are Luciferian, even though the content of what the woke right want is the diametric opposite of what the woke left want. And the actual content of what they're trying to construct is actually more in line with Christian values, hence them calling themselves Christian nationalists, than the actual Luciferian values of the woke left. There's a reason why they seem to resemble the chaos gods so much. It's because they actually want destruction, degeneracy, and change for change's sake, as well as all of the pathologies of Nurgle. They're in favor of all of those things. Whereas the Christian nationalists are actually arguing for a more wholesome Christian civilization. And James's problem is that they have realized that the tools of woke are just laying on the table, and that they can use them to attack liberalism itself. And he will just come out and tell you that that's what's happening. Woke right was never and is not an accusation against Christians or conservatives. Of course not. They're the ones he is trying to keep on the liberal plantation. The woke right is definitely seen and exposed, and the term will stick. Maybe. And it may well turn out that they'll adopt it for their own. Because maybe they actually are like, well, the problem with the woke left wasn't the woke part, it was the left part. Because remember, the woke part is really just a systematic power analysis of how structures are kept in place in order to preserve the current hegemony.
The problem is that the left wants to abolish private property ownership, and the right does not want to abolish private property ownership. That's what capitalism means. Capitalism to the left means private property ownership. By private property, they mean bourgeois property, which is property that you can use to create individual privatized wealth. What they mean specifically is your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord, your ability to own intellectual property, your ability to own a private business, whether it's big or small. Your parental rights are considered to be a form of private property. Your individual liberties are considered to be a form of private property. That is what the left wants to abolish, and that is why the left is a problem. The left is not a problem, and I'm going to stand by this. I'm not entirely convinced that the left is a problem because they're authoritarians. I'm convinced that the left is a problem because they want to abolish private property. I think if you put the right authoritarian in, and I'm not suggesting I want authoritarianism. You guys know in my heart of hearts, I am an anarcho-capitalist. So I'm not suggesting this is what I want. This is not my personal ideal. But if I had to choose between an authoritarian on the left that wants to take away all my stuff and an authoritarian on the right that will let me keep my stuff but wants to have society kind of operate in a very specific way in which things like queer theory are banned, I would have no problem completely banning all queer theory from society. I want queer theory books burned for real. I want them burned out of every library, every school. I don't want queer theory books to be able to be published anymore. I don't want people to be able to talk about queer theory. I don't want people to be able to lecture about queer theory. I want to do a full goddamn fatwa on all queer theory ever. Is that anarcho-capitalist in principle? No, it's not. It's not. But the reality is sometimes you don't always get what you want. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions. And I personally think we are completely fucked if we don't do some serious outlawing and banning around queer theory. I think in 10 to 15 years, we are completely fucked if kids continue to learn queer theory in school, which they provably are learning every single day. And I don't know any other way to stop that other than to say we need to ban it for the greater good. So if you put the right authoritarian in power and they make the right decisions, and of course you could say absolute power corrupts, absolutely, and that's perfectly rational. And again, this is not my personal ideal, but it's like, would I take the right authoritarian that wants to do things that are going to make things overall better than a left authoritarian? Yup. Every day.
Hegemony status quo of the ruling ideology. Well, that doesn't have to be partisan. It doesn't have to be a left or right issue. And in fact, in many cases, they actually are correct about a lot of these things that James Lindsay wants them to remain blind to, and themselves have fairly good critiques. Like, honestly, a lot of what the Frankfurt School are saying is right, even though they were communists.
I don't know
even
about
though I
that.
don't want to go in the direction they're heading in, they are making valid critiques. And this just comes down to Sun Tzu.
Okay, so basically, is what Sargon is saying is like, there are critiques of capitalism that can be made, but that doesn't mean we want communism as an alternative. I can wrap my head around that idea because I don't think that capitalism is perfect. I think that capitalism is provably imperfect. I think there are critiques of capitalism that can be made. I think my apprehension comes when we focus on critiquing capitalism over stopping the left from winning, because we can critique capitalism all we want, but if the left ends up winning and doing their alternative to capitalism, we are completely effed. And so why are we spending our time critiquing capitalism when we could be critiquing the left? So I'm on board with the idea that like capitalism is imperfect. We should be able to critique that. The Frankfurt School did that, but their solution was like unmanageable.
You must know your enemy and know yourself. And if you do, you'll never lose a battle. James Lindsay wants to continually lose the battle against the left.
So true.
Because he wants to refuse the widespread proliferation and understanding of what the left has discovered about our societies. Whereas the woke right are saying, well, no, look, when you take that
I don't think Sargon's right about that. I do think that Sargon, we're going to back up a little bit. I do think that Sargon is absolutely correct that James Lindsay wants to lose to the left. I think that Sargon is absolutely correct that James Lindsay is running cover for the left. I do not believe the left is winning because they are doing the critiques of society that they're doing. I think the left is winning because their organizing tactics are significantly more effective. That's why the left is winning. No other reason. Their tactics are more effective. And so if we just took their tactics and did a monkey see, monkey do, and we actually had a real vision and plan other than the conservative vision, which is Democrats or communists, and we don't have any vision for the country. If we actually had like a real plan and we just used the left's tactics against them, we would win because our plan would be better. The problem is our side isn't doing anything. The left is using effective tactics with a shitty vision, but the left is still out there doing something. So even if we have a better vision than the left, if we aren't doing things, then we are not going to win. If the left is doing things, even if they have a worse vision, they are going to win. So literally all we need to do is take their tactics and apply them to our side and actually come up with a compelling vision that would be better for society overall. We would end up winning maybe if we were able to catch up to them, but I have no problem using their tactics. And that's another thing James says too. James says that you're woke right if you will use leftist tactics. I'll use leftist tactics every day of the week. Leftist tactics provably work. Leftists organize. Leftists turned out massive amounts of people for protests the other day. Leftists, even when they don't have any branch of government, are still able to influence government. Leftists basically took Elon Musk out of contention in regards to Doge and the federal government. Leftists have basically shut down Trump's mass immigration plan. They've done all this through protesting and organizing, being constantly out there. All we need to do is take the left's tactics and apply them to us, and we can make progress towards them. But if James Lindsay is running around saying, you're woke if you do anything the left does, you're woke if you say anything the left says, then people aren't going to do it. Yeah, and you're right about this. James uses leftist tactics, but he seems to think it's okay when it comes to him.
Continually lose the battle against the left because he wants to refuse the widespread proliferation and understanding of what the left has discovered about our societies. Whereas the woke right are saying, well, no, look, we need to take that information, take that knowledge, and actually incorporate it into our own perspective. And so you get memes like this. Cast the ring of winning into the fire, and the woke right is no. And James Lindsay is on the position that we can never really defeat the left, because if we defeat the left, that means we have to defeat liberalism, and he is a liberal. So from any perspective in this conversation, he is the left. And that's why people point out that, look, he is definitely trying to purge the authentic right from the right, from the conservative movement.
True.
And he turns into a pink-haired gender goblin as soon as certain uncomfortable topics come up to which the liberal has no good answer, and in fact would require them to move off of liberalism entirely to be able to properly discuss. Yes, James Lindsay is the leftist in this conversation because liberalism is fundamentally a left-wing movement. And he is, in a way, using this mimetic framework in order to prey on the more ignorant pastors in the church. Yes, he is trying to make sure that the pastors and the Christians themselves remain in the liberal framework so he can make sure that liberalism survives. Because if the Christian right in America decides, you know what, we're not going to be liberals anymore because it seems to be a Luciferian creed that's intent on destroying everything God made, which I think it actually is, then why wouldn't he be acting as this agent of chaos against the right? He, of course, would. He's got every reason to do so. And Auron is right here, but he did intentionally manufacture a weapon of cancellation, the woke right label, that he ultimately...
What's another word for that? Repressive tolerance. This is Marcuse's repressive tolerance. That's what this is.
It would be used by leftists and regime conservatives to attack the right. That's 100% correct. And that's exactly why he's created it.
Yep.
That is exactly why. And he just says, well, I just mourn everyone who stepped into the darkness of the woke right. Well, I mean, you can say that, but you're not saying that Auron is wrong, right? You are.
He never says that.
Trying to do.
James never argues ideas. Literally, James never argues ideas. He either insults someone or defames them, or he deflects entirely from what they're saying, or he just says, ha ha ha, woke right, or some other stupid comment. He literally never argues with people's ideas.
Is make sure that people like Matt Walsh and JD Vance or whoever are essentially ostracized from the right, and therefore the conservatives remain on the liberal plantation forever. However, I think this is a losing battle. I actually don't think that the conservative commitment to being liberals can actually sustain in the face of everything that's happening to our civilizations. And so you get people like Michael here who are like, look, the woke right aren't conservatives. And in a way, that's true, but they are definitely right-wing.
Yeah.
They're temporarily embarrassed progressive revolutionaries. They are just right-wing revolutionaries. They're not progressives in any way, shape, or form.
They're temporarily embarrassed progressive revolution. I can believe Michael O'Fallon tweeted that. I can, actually. I was going to say I can't believe he tweeted that with like a straight face, but I actually can. Because James and Michael O'Fallon have been trying to say, they're all communists, they're all communists, they're all communists for like months now. And you can instantly tell someone's IQ when they buy into this stuff.
You are the progressives. You are the ones who look at the established natural society of humankind and say, This is not acceptable because it has collective concepts contained within it. We want hardline individualism, and to get it, we are going to critique any power structure that is created by collective identity. And that's how liberalism won its wars. They are not progressives. You are the progressive. And it's really weird that you're sat there pretending not to be. You are not in any way traditionalists. You are absolute individualists who want atomized humanity. I mean, like, I don't even need to explain it, really. But it is you who are very much on the left of this conversation, and the woke right are very much on the right. They are just postmodern. They are living in the postmodern era. We are living with the consequences of what the postmodern left did in the 20th century. And they have decided, well, I think if this can be used to win, why can't we use it to win? And the liberals' only answer is, well, we won't have a liberal society at the end of that.
Well,
And the woke right say,
cookies.
Deal.
Yeah, deal. Exactly. Sargon totally fucking gets it. I don't think he's 100% of the way there. I think he's like 90% of the way there, but he gets it a lot better than like basically everyone else talking about this. So that's pretty great, actually. That was pretty great. All right, guys, I think we are done. Actually, this is what we're going to watch for Socialism Saturday. We missed our Red May live stream today because I forgot about it, but we do have Red May coming up for Socialism Saturday, probably. And they're going to be talking about what's next in terms of, I guess, the fight against capitalism or fascism. And so I think this is going to be a really interesting Socialism Saturday. Socialism Saturday, we have just crossed into Saturday time. We have Bitchcraft today too, as well. I totally forgot about that. But so Socialism Saturday is at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We will watch Real Radical Revolutionary Socialism. If you've never come to Socialism Saturday, you really should, because it's the craziest shit you will see anywhere on the internet. And if you don't know how to speak socialist or you're overwhelmed by the language, we will teach you, and it's all good. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bed because I am tired. But I wanted to give you a stream because I took away your stream earlier because I did a 2-hour spy stream, and then I wanted to take a nap. And so now I'm back and I gave you your stream. Okay. So thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for not donating enough super chats where I have to feel like I have to watch Tim Pool now for hours. But you got a little Timmy in there. So that's good enough. All right, guys. I'll see you at Socialism Saturday or Bitchcraft a little bit earlier. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Which will be some idea.
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them.
it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.